across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
He has dismissed calls for his resignation, saying that we didn't do this. We've denied the accusation, and I have not given a greater level of protection nor my force to the pro-migrant protesters, claiming we are not being partial in any way, shape or form, despite video footage. I've so much to tell you about this Ben Julian Harrington, but I'm going to go straight to Epping. Our reporter, political commentator Theo Usherwood is outside the Bell Hotel in Epping. Theo, I'm going to try really hard to be as calm as possible because to me, the word chilling is important. There is video footage to suggest that Essex police have ferried pro-migrant activists into the middle of a peaceful protest causing carnage. Photographs go across the world and the Chief Constable today says, I've nothing to answer for. What the hell have we got to, Theo?
The Chief Constable, good afternoon, Jeremy, at this press conference that he held at Essex Police today was splitting hairs. So what he was saying was, we didn't drive them from the train station down to where I'm standing at the Bell Hotel. They simply monitored and escorted them down to this hotel so that they could, and many of these protesters, as you rightly say, had their faces covered, so they could conduct a counter-demonstration to the one that many local residents, 1,000 local residents, had been holding after, as you say, that migrant, the asylum seeker who was living here at this migrant hotel was arrested and has now been remanded into custody after he tried to kiss a 14-year-old girl on the high street nearby. It's worth mentioning, of course, that the police force initially denied the allegation flat outright, but only changed their tune after being confronted with video footage and admitted that they had, and this was put to me by an aide to the Chief Constable, monitored the progress of those migrant protesters in the same way that they would monitor or escort football fans, rival football fans, at a football match as they walk from a train station to a stadium. But feelings are running high. As I've been standing here this afternoon, a number of it's next to a set of traffic lights, so people pass from the traffic lights quite slowly. They drive past quite slowly, and have been shouting their exasperation at the current situation that we now see ourselves here in Epping.
I mean, there is so much I want to talk about, right? I mean, I've done a bit of background work, courtesy of Mike Graham, on Ben Julian Harrington. I'm not even going to play the clip, right, of him just playing a straight bat. Let's look at this man, right? His force, this is proven. FOI stats show that they arrest more than one person every day, the highest number in the United Kingdom for speech-related crimes. As a police force, in 2023, Essex police solved just, ready for this, 13.35% of recorded sentences. This man, in 2021, Chief Constable Harrington, and I quote, claimed that hate speech was one of the greatest threats to Essex. Whilst crime is going through the roof, this man's got an agenda. More than that, in terms of the social fabric, and I'm trying to keep really calm, the very people that are supposed to protect us and allow us to feel safe in our communities, whether they deny it or not, are allowing people in masks, balaclavas, whatever they are, to be driven by themselves to a protest. I would say that that's a criminal offence in public office. I would say that not only this man, but many of his officers are going to end up I would say in severe trouble, and so they should, Theo.
Well, I've heard stories today, Jeremy, in Walthamstow, of posters being put up encouraging people from Walthamstow to come down here to Epping to protest against the protesters, the local residents here who are very concerned about what has been happening in Epping. It does feel like a tinderbox. Indeed, the Chief Constable admitted to a question that I asked him at this press conference, Jeremy, that because his officers were policing these protests, they were unable to solve crimes in Essex, like burglaries. And of course, many people here, including Mr. Farage, Nigel Farage's constituents in Clacton, are very concerned about. Indeed, the situation has now reached the point at which he's going to have to draft in extra officers seconded by the Home Office from other forces around the country to support his force in policing the protests due to go ahead in the coming days.
I don't know who Ben Julian Harrington's boss is, but I'm telling you what, mate.
Home Secretary.
This is going to be a huge story. So much so that the government is flagging serious warning signs that another wave of summer riots could be on the horizon. This is how rubbish it is, ladies and gentlemen. Sir Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner are demanding actions from ministers to avoid a repeat of the violence that shook the country last July. Well, I tell you what, Deputy and Prime Minister of this country, get a hold of your Home Secretary, who should get hold of police forces, the length and breadth of this country, and tell them how to do their job. Theo Usherwood at the Bell Hotel in Epping, thank you very much indeed. He's on location, more of that coming up during the show. It's Drive Time and Talk, 4:10. What do you make of this? A police force, a peaceful protest, genuine concern about migrants committing sexual offences against schoolgirls, peaceful protest, the police drive to a train station and bring back 3 busloads of basically pro-migrant protesters in masks and drive them in the police vans and drop them into where the other people are, and it all goes off like a tinderbox, as Theo brilliantly suggested. Let's get the opinions of a former Labour MP, now a Reform fan. Really interested to see what he thinks. Simon Danshire, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's good to be with you, Jeremy.
Simon, I'm trying to be calm. This is chilling, that a police force can be seen, and maybe I'm missing the point. I mean, he describes it, this Harrington chap, as, you know, we're facilitating them the right for them to protest. It would be very easy to suggest that by dropping them in the same place where there's real tension and real anger, you are inflaming the situation, Simon Danchuk. This guy has to go, doesn't he?
I think he will go relatively soon. I don't think his position is sustainable. This has been policed completely incorrectly, to say the least. You've got local residents genuinely concerned about illegal immigrants coming into their community, allegedly committing sexual harassment and assault, and they are right to protest. And then you have a police service here, Essex Police, who are effectively bussing in counter-protesters who are provoking local residents. I will guarantee that very few, if any, of those counter-protesters are from the local area.
Of course they're not.
So
and from a political point of view, Si, this is what I want from you. Sir Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner are demanding action from ministers to avoid a repeat of the violence that shook this country. I know nothing about politics. I'd have my Home Secretary drag this bloke into their office this afternoon and sack him on the spot. The police are supposed to... they're supposed to police for crime. They're supposed to create calmness and serenity and law and order. This is... When we heard this, I mean, this first came about, I don't know if you know this, I'm going to play this to you as well, because Peter Blexley, who's always on this show and this station for a very good reason, ex-Met Police, he made this accusation back on Sunday on Alex Phillips's show and got slaughtered. Have a listen and a watch of this.
If there is evidence that the police drove these counter-protesters, which are often hard left nut jobs, into the heart of these protests, my question is, why?
If they did, it is absolutely scandalous. I would go as far as to say it's a criminal offence. It's misconduct in public office because it is so reckless.
Could not agree more. Peter's always been outspoken. You'd have to agree with that, Simon Danshot, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are serious questions to answer. And I think the Home, as you suggest, the Home Secretary has to come out and explain what the heck is going on. This Chief Constable, and you read out a litany of charges against him, clearly isn't fit to be running Essex Police. You've got to feel for the frontline police officers who've got to serve underneath him, to be quite...
I mean, that's the point that Pete always makes, that there's plenty of really good, talented policemen and women who must be tearing their hair out when they get told to go and... I mean, look, he said it. Hate crime's the #1 crime in Essex. Christ, if my house was being burgled or my daughter had been raped or my business had been set on fire, I'd have no confidence. But this is where this Labour government, in my humble opinion, gets it so wrong. This is an open goal. Go after this bloke. Go after... No, we're going to make excuses. We're going to demand action. The flip side of that, and this isn't me promoting Nigel Farage, but yet again today, Nigel Farage does what Nigel Farage does so well. Right there, in your face, at the exact moment something's happening, speaking about what people want. This is Nigel. This is what he posted when he found this out about Essex. Have a watch, people. Have a listen.
Have a look at this video.
If these are locals, why are they getting a police car? What time's the next bus? You wait 15 minutes for a bus and then 3 come all along at once. Look, they're all cramming in.
This shows Stand Up to Racism, as they're called, with Antifa, a violent, thuggish group, arriving at the train station and literally, by Essex Police, being bussed to the Bell Hotel. These were the people that caused the disturbances. These were the people that caused the riots. Essex Police caused the disturbances. What on earth were Essex Police thinking? Is it that they just hate so much ordinary residents determined to stand up for their own rights? I don't know the answer to that question. What I do know is what Essex Police have done here is absolutely disgraceful. One of the most extraordinary acts I've seen from the police force in my lifetime. And for bussing Antifa, oh, and by the way, many of them masked protesters, for doing this, heads must roll. There is no way the Chief Constable or the Police and Crime Commissioner in Essex can stay in their posts. This is a disgrace.
And you'd have to, Simon, whatever your political persuasion, you'd have to agree with Nigel's words, and you'd have to wonder why the leader of this country is not already out saying the same. Is Keir Starmer not appalled that a police officer, a person who is, you know, supposed to be impartial and protect us, is so blatantly biased that he gets... This is... I can't even put it into words. I find it quite chilling. I'm being honest.
It's quite clear that Essex Police have provoked local residents into conflict. That's the charge.
Driven by what? An ideology, do you think?
Oh, I think it's helpful for them to see conflict there. I think it dampens it down. It allows them to make arrests. They're trying to control the situation. I think that's what this is about. But I have to say, I'm on the side of the local protesters. If this was going on in my community, I would be out protesting with those local people.
And me.
And it's spreading across the country. We are going to see a summer of unrest. And I think we spoke about this last week, Jeremy. This is we've seen examples of it in Norfolk. It's a town called Diss, where there are protests against illegal immigrants in a particular hotel. There are now protests in Canary Wharf, where illegal immigrants are being put up in a luxury hotel. And this is just going to escalate. That's the reality of it. And as you point out, Starmer's nowhere to be seen. The Prime Minister is nowhere to be seen on this, and it's being left to Nigel Farage to call it out. And quite rightly, all credit to him, is calling it out and is on the side of the public.
MG said to me earlier, we were filming Plank out on Friday, cheap plug. He was saying to me, it also begs the question, Si, which is, and I hate what I'm going to say, but I have to say it. What else has been done by Essex Police or other police forces that we don't know about? Are we talking... To me, that looks like coercion. To me, that looks, as you quite rightly say, to be a decision to do something to create a scenario whereby they can look good or they can... But to me, it's deeper than that. It's showing a political bias, I think, then of the BBC. And now I'm thinking of the police force. And people say, Jez, you sit there every day. And what do you think? I was on a train today, right? This is genuinely true. I'm on a train. Even Joe doesn't know this. And I'm sat, and right over the aisle, it's very quiet. I'm not going to lie, I was in first class, sits a driver, and he's got an ASLEF thing round his neck. So I thought, Christ, this is going to be fun. And after about 2 minutes, he said to me, can I just say, he said, forget what I do for a living. What you guys are talking about on Talk, right, is what needs talking about. I work 50 hours a week. I'm not one of those pro-as in it. He said, what they're doing to this country and what they're giving away, my mum can't get this hip operation. She's waited 4 years, right, blah, blah, blah. And I thought to myself, this isn't. It's no longer acceptable, I think, to go, you know, these people on Talk or The Sun or these ex-people, they're all far... No, we're not. That woman at that protest in Epping was concerned about a teenage daughter. How dare she be labelled by that chief constable or anybody else as far right? She's actually a mother concerned. How dare politicians who have never been outside the M25 bloody boundary not be able to understand that hard-working, honest, decent British people who've done everything all their lives, never had a handout, never asked for anything, are being put at the back of the queue to people who come here unvetted and then commit crimes, and they're being... I don't know, buffeted, shielded by a legal system and even now by a police system. It's appalling, appalling.
Completely right. The good news is the whole political agenda is changing. People
Thank God.
have absolutely had enough of this. Yeah. The idea that and Starmer is guilty of letting more and more illegal immigrants into the country than any other Prime Minister, a good proportion of which are sexual deviants, a good proportion of which are criminals. That's the reality. We are importing people into the country who haven't, as you say, been checked out in any way whatsoever. We're putting them into luxury hotels. The public have had enough. And I've got to say it, there's going to be more and more protests. I think this government could easily end up falling at some stage. It's getting that bad.
But why would you not? Whether you're Labour, Reform, Tory or whatever, why would you not be appalled? This is my question to Dreary Starmer. Are you not appalled that a chief constable has bust in the other side of a peaceful protest argument to cause the tension that then was obvious and was videoed? Are you that naive? Is your political antennae not on enough to understand that all sorts of people, not far-right thug Starmer, but people, hard-working British people, the very working people that you went on and on and on and on about helping, they don't see you as a man that gives a toss. And his silence, I mean, you know, him and Rayner, come on, we need action. Unbelievable. I'm with you. I don't think that this... I hate to say, it's very difficult when you're broadcasting. I don't condone any form of violence at all. I understand that people should and will protest peacefully. But if the political class can't see what the general public are thinking about what they're witnessing, then they shouldn't be in office, mate. Because I mean, one thing before you go I can add to this is the doctors' strike. They know, these horrible left-wing doctors, that the people will die. It'll cost the NHS 87 million quid, 250,000 appointments will go. People will die because they won't be able to get cancer treatment, and they merrily want another 29% because the Labour Health Secretary bent over and said, what would you like? I'll give you 22, come again. Unbelievable, man. This government is rudderless. This government is gutless, in my opinion.
Yeah, and on the protests, we saw Starmer and Rayner come out on Tuesday, yesterday, and say, well, yes, it's about immigration, but it's also about technology. What's that about? It's about social media. You know, they just do not understand what's going on in Great Britain.
I agree.
They are completely out of touch, and that's why they will be out of office.
Listen, Si, it's always a pleasure. We love having you on. We thank you very much indeed. Ex-Labour MP, now a Reform candidate, please God, Simon Danczuk, live and exclusive on Talk Drive 422. I'm sorry to go on about it. To me, it is extraordinary. The Essex Police, led by Ben Julian Harrington, he's dismissed calls for his resignation today on the basis that it wasn't weird that my force picked up protesters in masks who were against the people who were having a peaceful protest. That's pretty normal. I'd love your thoughts. 0344 419 1000. Text to 87222. We're coming back in 3.
Labour government is using this ridiculous, in my opinion, and in Reform's opinion, this ridiculous policy of early release of prisoners because the prisons are full. That is not a solution. Why are we letting out dangerous criminals onto our streets, putting the public safety at risk because the prison places, there's not enough prison places. What we should
build them then. Build 10 more prisons. I don't get it.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
this story about Essex and Essex police were going absolutely nowhere. Ben Julian Harrington is the chief constable. I think without any shadow of a doubt he should resign. I repeat something, by the way, that I started the show with because I believe we had a few technical problems. This is the man who runs Essex Police. This police force, we have video footage, it's everywhere you want to look, that they bust in Antifa, is that how you say Antifa, and stand up to race and protesters masked at the weekend and drop them in the middle of a peaceful protest by residents of Epping who were concerned about a migrant who'd allegedly sexually attacked, OK, some young girl, right? This guy's got form. Not only, by the way, did he once stand up and say, oh, hate speech is the worst crime in the world, not only is his force the worst performing in terms of only 13% of crimes. Do you remember Alison Pearson, that Telegraph journalist, bless her, who was investigated for some hurty words? The sentence could have been 7 years. That was this idiot. This man and his force arrest 1.4 people a day for hate speech. How can this man seriously stay in power? I don't care, OK, what your argument, what your protest is about. You have a right. But if you, as the chief constable, are allowing people who are anti another thing to be busted by your officers to cause trouble, which you then apparently police or footage goes out, you are complicit, are you not, in causing that problem? Chris is in Hereford. Good afternoon, Chris. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
I mean, I don't think I've ever been more chilled in my... Not chilled as in chilled out. I think this is chilling. I think this is worrying.
Well, it is worrying, to be honest. It's just you know, this whole situation is a mess. It's like, I'm not being funny, but it's like the whole country is in a mess, sort of thing.
How does this man stay in his job? Why is he not sacked?
Honest, I really, Jeremy, I honestly don't know. I really don't. The Home Secretary, as you said before, the Home Secretary should get that bloke in her office and basically either sack him or basically just tell him or give him an explanation what's happening.
I don't think there is an explanation. I thank you for your call, Chris. I want to get lots on. I'll tell you what I think as well, and I'm not being rude because I'm not into conspiracy theories, but you'd have to say, if you look back at Southport, and Farage was saying things about that, the rhetoric of this government, do you remember what Starmer said? They're all far-right thugs. Well, those people in Epping were peaceful protesters, mothers of daughters concerned what might happen. Does it suit the government for the police in Epping to act like this? Paul's in Bolton. Paul, you're on Talk Drive. Good afternoon.
Hiya, Jeremy. I wanted to say that, firstly, I'm wondering why...
Can you move... Sorry, mate, the line's awful. Can you move your mouth back from the phone? It's really, really crackly. Can you... Seriously, the quality. Go on.
Is that better?
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, kiddo.
Yeah. What puzzles me about all this is a lot of people who are part of these protests, whether the far right, the Farage voters, whatever, they're the kind of people who normally moan about pride marches, they moan about environmental protests, they moan about Palestine protests, but yet they're wanting to be part of all this. And I don't understand
what you're saying at all, and I'll tell you why I don't understand. I'm entitled to mine, and you are absolutely entitled to your opinion. These were majoritatively women in a peaceful protest, hear me out, not far right. Don't label them as far right, it's fundamentally wrong. These were women who were concerned about their daughters in the community. The police in Essex bust in masked supporters of Stand Up to Racism and Antifa, right, to cause hassle, took them there, and that caused the hassle. That was not far right. We're obsessed. I'm not bothered about far right or far left. That was a police force actively putting two sides against each other, man.
But you saying about conspiracies, do we actually know whether that's true? I mean, we never know what's true nowadays.
Do you know what? I'll take that from you, absolutely. 4:30, we're live across the UK. Mike Graham in a tick. Robert is in London. Robert, you're on Talk Drive. Good afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, this police officer, without fear or favour, is that what they say?
Yeah.
They're not meant to be politically motivated, are they? But he's a perfect example of why so many in the country have lost all faith in our civic institutions.
Yeah.
And we all know what happens after that. And that's why people like Farage and yourself and many of us are saying, are heeding the Prime Minister and others to step back from the brink. Because once everyone loses trust in the civil pact, in the vote, I mean, we saw Brexit get undermined for years, didn't we?
Yeah.
We endlessly vote. For 10, 12 years, we've been voting against mass immigration, and what have they done? They've ramped it up.
Absolutely, including the Tories massively. I'm not sticking up for the Tories at all, Robert, but I just think that it becomes an even bigger issue when you consider that the very people who are employed at taxpayers' money to defend us are, what did he say, that guy's a conspiracy? There's video footage. This was caused by a police constable, chief constable, deciding that he wants to stir up trouble and look good trying to sort it. It's frightening. Robert in London, thank you very much indeed. Busy show. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. The voice of the world, the station, and certainly, well, this studio in the next 20 minutes. The legend that is Mike Graham. Next on Talk Drive.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 4:35. He's a legend, he's here, and we've been talking about this Essex story, Mikey. I just want to play before we get into all that stuff, because there's three clips we wanted to play at the beginning of the show. We had a technical problem. This is footage, if you're watching on YouTube, of what was discovered about the Essex police busing masked Antifa and Stand Up to Racism protesters from the train station to drop them in the middle of a peaceful protest by Epping residents. Have a watch, have a listen. Is it not working? It's just ridiculous, man. Mike, let's just talk. It's nobody's fault in the building. It just happens.
I mean, what we can tell you is that at this press conference, which he gave this afternoon, Ben Julian Harrington, he basically said, "I will not resign." He's been the resignation calls have gone out. Nigel Farage has called for him to resign already. I think he will have to resign.
He's got to resign
because he's clearly.
Hold on, sorry. Apparently, we've got. I want the resignation one. All right. Tell me it's ready, please. Resignation clip. Go.
If you're not apologising, are you going to follow the demands of some politicians in this country who have called you to resign over this?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. And this is not about me. This is about the communities of Essex, is what I spoke about earlier. You know, the communities that are disrupted, the legitimate people who want to go and protest outside that hotel, and I make no observation of that view of that. If they're peaceful and lawful, they want to express their views. That is their right, and this is important that within the laws of this country, the Essex police allow that to take place. I come back to the point where people break the law, where they smash up police vans, where they assault workers from the hotel, where they are chasing people away. Those are the people that we will not tolerate.
I'm really struggling, and you're going to have to be like a dad to me.
Yeah.
The reason there was tension is because that idiot's officers put the people who were against the peaceful protest in with them and caused the tension, right?
Exactly right, absolutely right. He says he doesn't accept that they were given preferential treatment, even though they lied about the fact that they were not bussed in.
Absolutely.
He now says that they were escorted, right? That's his word. He says they were escorted, as if...
But they were driven in police vans.
There is footage, certainly, of them getting into police vans and...
In their masks.
In in their masks and at the end of the demonstration being taken back to the railway station. Now, I wasn't at the press conference. If I had been, I would have asked some other questions. Maybe it was difficult, I don't know. But I would certainly have said to him, if you're saying that you didn't bust them in and out, what are you saying? What, you know,
I'll tell you what I picked up on.
Yeah.
My concern is for the communities. What he's doing, he's hiding behind, which I completely get, by the way, so hear me out. He's saying everybody has a right, OK? Apparently they were escorted on foot to the protests, were driven back in some cases as well. That's really interesting. Were driven back afterwards. It's all right, you know, it's all right. But my point is, if he's saying, which I agree with, everybody has a right to protest, he has to answer why his force actively encouraged to move those people to where a peaceful protest was taking place.
Exactly right.
That's the concern.
How does that safeguard anybody? How does that make sure that anybody... I've been saying this all afternoon, and I said it this morning. This is like the equivalent of taking, you know, some Fulham fans from Craven Cottage football ground into a game at Chelsea, bussing them there and dropping them
Millwall
off
and West Ham,
at the back end of the shed and leaving them there and say, we'll come and pick you up when it's finished.
That is exactly right.
Exactly not what the police do. Now, he says this is these are his words. The only protection that officers have given is to those lawful and law-abiding people, whether they are in that accommodation, whether they are the people of Epping, or whether they are people who are standing there with placards and banners wishing to make a very important and legitimate view. So he's talking about three different sets of people, right? The people who are in the migrant hotel are there legally, but they're not wanted, right? The people who are demonstrating against that are there peacefully and legally, and they live there, and it's their community, and it's their right to protest. The other people are people that have come from outside of the community
to stir trouble.
To stir trouble. Why else are they there?
Actively helped by the police. That's the point. It's
actively helped by the police.
That's
by the way,
point.
you know, if they make the argument that we walk them there, but then we bust them out, you know, you don't just suddenly, you know, magic up 7 or 8 police buses, because that's what they had. The footage that we played this morning, which Nigel Farage also made into a video clip.
Did he phone you, Nigel, and say thank you? Because it was broken on Mike Graham's breakfast show.
We did break it this morning, And here's the thing, you know, at the end of the day, they've allowed themselves to become activists, effectively. That's what they've done.
They've put themselves in a position where they are absolutely able to be criticised. And I get it, because Jodie's just put it. They're now saying, Essex Police, oh, we escorted them there on foot. You know what they'll next say? We drove them out because of the tension that was causing.
Right.
But
this is also an organisation that lied about this at the weekend, OK? So you can take your choice as to whether you believe them now.
And also, a man with a history.
It didn't happen.
I read the article you gave out to me, Alison Pearson, the Daily Telegraph journalist. He went for her, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. She was arrested for a tweet from a year before they arrested her, which was a free speech issue, which they deemed to be some kind of hate crime.
It was about Gaza. He didn't like it, presumably.
He didn't like it because it wasn't his politics, and she's now suing them because of the fact that she's frankly powerful enough and has a column that she can write about Essex Police, and she's written all about how it happened, how they came to her door on one Sunday morning, you know, mob-handed, and took her away to the police station. Ridiculous situation, right? And as you just rightly said, this guy thinks hate crime is one of the biggest problems in Essex.
I'd love to, when he talks about the Essex community, I'd love to go amongst the Essex voters and say, your chief constable believes that the safety of Essex communities is important, but he arrests 1.4 people. This is a fact. A day for speech crimes, but there's crime that's rampant and happening all the time. Do you feel this man is protecting you, or do you think he's got an ideology that he's following? Because it's absolutely an ideology.
Well, he absolutely has an ideology, and he very clearly polices in the way that he wants to police, as opposed to... Because the question I would have asked him is, were you told to do this by somebody in government? Because if he wasn't, and he's pompous enough to probably say, oh no, I took the decision all by myself, in which case he's banged to rights anyway.
I mean, I'd sack him this afternoon.
I'm wondering if he is in fact in some way being instructed to do this by somebody in the government. Because I know for a fact, right, that the reason the CPS was so hard on all of those rioters up in Southport and in other parts of the country where they were locked up for much longer than they would have otherwise been if they'd been doing any other crime, is because they were leaned on not just by the CPS but by the government. I'm sure of it.
The thing is, we're back to something we talk about every day, you and I, is the government, the police, all these institutions are missing the vibe's the wrong word. The feeling there is on the streets amongst communities. I was touched by the video on Twitter of the mother, the blonde lady, who was very reasonably walking along saying, look, I live here, I'm really, really concerned, I've got daughters, blah, blah, blah. She's not a far-right thug.
No, of course not.
And if you treat her like that... She is... There are millions like that lady. We've got a great voice now. Andy on the Epping protest, go.
Hi, Jess. It's Andy from Birmingham. They want like people to I wouldn't say riot, but to create social unrest. They want us to do it. They're pushing us to the limit with this thing with this Essex police. He needs to go tonight. You know, busing people in, like, I agree with Peter Blexley, it is a criminal offence. Poor old Lucy went down for like 31 months for hardly anything like they've done the weekend at that protest in Epping. They just want us to kick off so they can blame the far right, they can blame reform and everything, and it'll be all push the blame on, just like they tried to in Southport. But obviously we were found out it wasn't far right being bussed into Southport. It was just angry people. Yeah, you get mindless people, you know, throwing stuff. I don't want that. I don't condone that at all. But they want us to do that because they can blame it all on the far right.
Brilliant. That's it. I suspect that guy in Birmingham speaks for millions.
He does, because also, let's not forget, these people who they bust in, these demonstrators from the left, you know, the socialist worker crowd, they consider reform to be far right. They think that anybody's going to do with reform is far right, which of course is absolute nonsense.
Here's the million-dollar question. When we watched, and you told me all the way through, and you were dead right, that Trump would win, and he was very vocal in America about how the establishment, the legal system, the mainstream media, politicians, everybody would do whatever. I know there are people who are going to go, Jez, be careful. Is this the beginning, the sort of thing we're seeing in Essex? Or actually, would it not certainly begin to make you question whether this is an attempt by a certain political part of the establishment because they see what the British people right now are favouring, which is reform and Nigel Farage? Is it fear?
I think
is it being directed?
Yeah, I think they are terrified because if they get Farage in this country, he will be like Donald Trump. He'll cut a swathe through the civil service. He'll take the DEI business out of business. He'll get rid of all of that, and he will somehow, for the first time, probably maybe in our lifetime, actually affect what goes on behind closed doors and behind the way that this country is actually run. I was told a story about Lord Frost the other day, which I think was on the show, and he was talking about somebody who was in a green room. I think it was Peter Blexley. Was in a green room with him, and he basically said, you know, it's pretty tough, this business of running the government, isn't it? And Lord Frost said, yes, it really is, which is exactly why we shouldn't let the politicians anywhere near it.
Yes,
right?
I mean, it's... And then you question...
The blob is and it's about as left-wing as you can be. These are people who have got signs up in the Home Office saying refugees welcome. It's supposed to be, running the country. It's supposed to be extolling the law.
You look at that, right, and then we'll move on from that. The doctor strikes, which start tomorrow, Friday. 5 days, we were talking about this. 87 million across the NHS, 250,000 appointments will go. People with cancer treatments will miss appointments. People will die. The BMA, which is as left as can be, on a mission, had 23%. To me, Streeting's been made to look an idiot. Is that what we can also expect? Unions saying we're not, because that's what happened the last time Labour impact. It's almost like the very fabric of what we've become used to is disintegrating.
Well, when the government in its own cabinet is saying, oh, we're a bit worried the country's fraying around the edges, well, it's not just fraying around the edges, it's going rotten from the middle, in my view, and they caused it. You know, just imagine, this time last year, none of this had really started happening. But in the 1 year that they've been in, they have completely destroyed everything in this country. And we said they would, but we didn't think they'd do it this quickly.
I didn't think it would be this dramatic. There's another story, and I know you've done this before, and I of course, the main news story is Essex Police. But when we talk about how worrying things are, have you seen the story about how, you know, the Union Jack dress girl the other day with the father? Dozens of pupils in another school.
This is now another school, we did it this morning,
turned up with a flag or a culture day with a Union Jack or St George T-shirt, thrown out.
They were all put in a room and told, you can't wear that here, it's British Culture Day. Why would you want to wear a British flag? I mean, what's wrong with this country? Where are we getting these teachers from?
I really worry about that. We've got a police force that's basically stirring up trouble. We've got teachers who are telling our kids you can't be proud to be British. We've got an immigration policy that says, do you know what, we're going to favour every person who's never been vetted over anybody who's been here all their lives. Where does it end? Genuinely.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know, but I think questions need to be asked as well about what other police forces have been doing and what and as I say, the key question for me is ordering them to do it. Because if they're doing it off their own bat, that's bad enough. But if they're being ordered to do it by somebody higher up in the Home Office or somebody higher up in the CPS or somebody higher up in government, then that is a resignation matter for the entire government, I think.
When people who are not, say, on the radar that we are, who would make an excuse for immigration, would make an excuse for, you know, putting kids into isolation for wearing Union Jack clothes, a T-shirt, Jesus Christ. What would you say to those people? Because I'm 60. I refuse to lie down. I think I'm concerned about my country too much. And I'm not far right, and I'm not a racist, and I'm not a fascist. I think, you know, low taxation, secure borders, a strong police force that deals with law and order, and just some bleeding common sense needs to come back, right?
Well, it tells you, doesn't it, the you know, the actual crime, you know, solving rate in Essex in 2023 was 13%. 1-3, you know. So
what about the other 86.5% of people?
You know, if you know what it's like. If you are unfortunately the victim of crime, there's very little chance you'll see a police officer. There's very little chance they'll catch whoever it was that did whatever they did to you.
If you live in Essex, no chance at all.
And if you live in Essex, you're more likely to be arrested for holding the wrong kind of placard. You know. But I say to people every single day, there's more of us than there are of them. You know, they happen to have managed to get themselves into power, not just in government, but in the schools, in the prisons, in the universities, in the police. You know, it's all been taken over by the wokists, and they're running scared because for the first time they've seen a political movement reform, which is actually really, really powerful because it's got people behind it. It's not just propped up by companies and donors and money.
People with passion,
up by ordinary people who have had enough and who want to see something different. And they're sick to death of being told their kids can't wear Union Jack clothes. They're sick to death of being told they have to support climate change because otherwise they should be put in prison.
Don't be upsetting,
right?
You might have to go to prison if you start big.
You know, they're sick to death of having to, you know, watch police officers dancing at gay pride rallies. You know, go and arrest some bloody criminals.
Whilst being punched in the face by two Muslim gentlemen at Manchester Airport, and they're still, well, they are now finally at trial, but you know, the officer was done straight away. There seems to be a massive imbalance in this country, and you're right. People are genuinely hacked off.
I've never seen anything like it.
Have you not?
No. People are, you know, the last time we were in a bad way in this country was probably the 1970s, but it was
79.
nothing like this, because this is actually, you know, more kind of cuts more to the bone, I think, because it's about the destruction of Britain. And
it's almost the destruction. That's a really good word. The very fabric of what I believe, I was brought up to believe the United Kingdom was about, seems to be being eaten away at by people who have either come here because they apparently wanted a better life, or people who believe, and they've never done a day's work. You look at the front bench of the Labour Party, they go from university to master's degree to Quango to, I don't know, economic
or trade union or
trade union. And then, and so I think that's another reason why reform resonates. I've been told that my presence has been requested on the breakfast show tomorrow.
Indeed.
I'm very excited about this.
It's a seminal moment for me.
It is,
you know,
and for me.
Because tomorrow morning at 6 a.m, Morning Glory will rise to the occasion, I'm sure, if you'll pardon the pun.
Yes.
And you will join me.
I will.
For the first hour of the show.
Looking forward to it.
Where we will look and see what the papers have got to say. Where we'll be playing loads and loads of great
This guy's
clips.
got to resign, mate. If
I
we
think
achieve
he will.
anything.
I don't think he's long for this world. Because
Ben Julian Harrington, people, do whatever you... This guy, you know, right to your... I mean, how does he survive tonight? I mean, this guy's a disgrace.
I really don't get it. And the other question, of course, is what is actually going on right now in Epping? Have they moved the migrants out of that hotel? Are they shutting the hotel down? We understand there's some kind of council meeting. I think it may be tomorrow night. If not, if they haven't moved them anywhere, there's going to be a problem at the weekend. If they have moved them anywhere, we need to know where they've moved them to. Because the focus now is on the people running this complete and utter, I can't say the word show, but it ends in show. They need to be held to account. We need to know, because people are now going to be on it. Over at Canary Wharf, they're watching the Britannia Hotel now. People are angry. They're going to go, where else are you putting these people?
I'm very excited about getting up in the morning. Breakfast at 6 o'clock. I'm on with Mikey. Thank you, my friend. He's off to get some well-deserved kips. 10 to 5. We're back with Matt Wilkinson from The Sun. Massive, massive royal story as well before the news of 5. Coming back next.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Your calls are continuing. We'll get them on 0344 499 1000. I'll read your text. I want to shoot to a story now about your favourite couple. We say a very good afternoon to Matt Wilkinson, royal editor from The Sun and host of The Sun's royal show. You're going very well, that as well. You could teach me a thing or two, Matt. I saw a couple of them. It's great. It's a very sad moment, Matt, and I think we should perhaps, I'm not going to say hold hands and be sad together, but Prince Harry and Meghan's $100 million deal with Netflix is scrapped in yet another huge loss of revenue for the couple who are possibly about as popular as acne.
Well, I think there's a collective sigh of relief. There's a sigh of relief in the royal family in that there's no more of these documentaries.
Yeah.
I think there's a sigh of relief from viewers that they don't have to watch anymore. But also,
well, they didn't have many, did they, to be fair?
But also a sigh of relief from Netflix. They don't have to spend, £100 million over 5 years for any more. I mean, I think the issue is, I think both sides wanted to move away. I think the Sussexes want to move in a different direction. But
what?
Well, we're seeing it at the moment.
Making.
We're seeing the damage caused by the first series, the documentary. Although they made a lot of money, the damage caused by that has been really, really difficult for them to get over. And if Harry does genuinely want to reconcile, there can't be any more Netflix documentaries like that. And they've tried the two with Love Meghan and Polo, but they were just very dull. The viewing figures were low, so I think for everybody, it's beneficial for both to just part and go in separate directions.
I would never what's said off air, but I'd be interested in your opinion. He says he wants to reconcile. People close to him are acknowledging this. I don't think she can ever set foot in this country again, can she?
No, I think the clever thing that Harry's done, if we ever say that he does clever things...
I've never heard those two words together for a while, Harry and clever, but we'll go with it.
Is that he's laid his cards on the table and he said, I cannot bring Meghan back to the UK. He's made it very clear because I don't feel that she is safe. So, and then he's come forward and said, I would like to reconcile with my father. So any problem that the royal family can think that maybe Meghan might join Harry, he's got rid of that problem by saying that she can't join me in the UK.
How do you reconcile with your family if your wife and kids can't come over? What, you just come and visit occasionally? What, so you can keep your title and keep sponging off your dad, or what?
Well, he's got a plan for the future.
What?
Okay. Harry's got to plan.
Oh, he hasn't got a plan, he's got to plan.
He's got to plan for the future.
Because I'll tell you one thing that I believe fervently, and you're the royal correspondent. My old man, as you know, worked for the Queen Mother for a long, long time. I think he will be even less than a spare when his brother takes the throne. I don't think his brother will give him the time of day. I think his brother is steeped in what's right and wrong. From his grandmother, from all those days at the weekend at Eton and going to see Granny at Windsor Castle, I think William is as livid can be.
I think you're right, and I think that's why he's trying to reconcile with the King and not William. And also, there is this thing for Harry that in 10, 15 years' time, we're going to have George, we're going to have Charlotte, we're going to have Louis. They're going to be the superstars.
Yeah.
Harry is aware, that's why he's got a plan for the future now, that maybe his star has passed.
Yes.
And, you know, the last couple of years being on Netflix, writing a book, that was his kind of moment. So he now has to plan for the future because he will become less relevant once William's line becomes more relevant.
I completely agree. And also the fact that, you know, in terms of relevance, they went to Canada, they went to America. America doesn't give a damn, does it? I mean, that was going to be... I mean, the Americans, and McKinsey would always say, were obsessed with the royal family. They're not obsessed with Harry and Meghan anymore, aren't they?
Well, no, they're obsessed with the royal family, as you pointed out there. So they're obsessed with Harry and Meghan when they're in the royal family. When they are just influencers doing TV shows about cookery and polo, they're just... with a long list of Californian celebrities. When they were in the royals, when they were attending royal events and they were actually touring, having, you know, service in the name of, when it was, you know, Queen Elizabeth II, that's when they had, you know, a star list.
Yeah, and it'll be very interesting to see. I told you off air, I'll tell you on air, the old man always said that the reasons that he got with her was the second word was whipped, and that he was allowed to say that at 87. He always believed that Prince Harry will come back to the United Kingdom. They will get divorced at some point. She would have got what she got, probably if she finds somebody richer. Do you think the British public would forgive him?
We did a poll recently, you mentioned about Royal Exclusive, we did a poll and people do not want Harry to reconcile with the King. It's all fine Harry saying, I want reconciliation with my family, but he also has to reconcile with the British public. And currently the British public are not happy with that situation, that they will not forgive him at the moment. I think everyone thinks he needs to apologise, show a bit of contrition, admit that he is wrong, and then we can move forwards. But at the moment, it feels like there's a bit of a flag-waving exercise to suggest there's a reconciliation, or a reconciliation on the cards, and see what the general public feel, and they're not happy with it.
It's really interesting. I've listened intently to everything you said. I like what you said about their influences. You're so right. They moaned about privacy and left the royal family, and then signed a deal that intruded on every part of their lives. She used to talk about how her children were precious to her, and yet if you look at Instagram now, it's all pictures of her kids as the relevant star has dimmed repeatedly. It'd be very interesting to see.
Yeah, I think there is an argument to suggest that in the future she will be able to monetise Archie and Lilibet, because she wants to hold on to the Prince and Princess title, so she understands that that link to the royal family keeps them relevant, and, you know, they could be the superstars in the future that keep the family going.
I would respectfully suggest that our next king might well strip his brother and his wife and possibly his niece and nephew. I'm being completely serious. Matt, it's always a pleasure. You do a great job with The Sun, and we appreciate it. The Sun show, royal exclusive. When's it next on?
Oh, it's on in a couple of hours.
See, he's that busy. He's got the suit and tie primed and ready to go. It's almost 5 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. Thanks for tuning in. Peter Blexley, who first broke the news that Essex police had been ferrying people into that Epping protest from Antifa and Stand Up for Racism, is next on Drive. 0344 499 1000. What do you want to ask Peter Blexley? 872222. Start your message with the word talk. News at 5 next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is
Hour 2 of Drive 4. Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday. We're live across the United Kingdom. This story has just, about Essex police, has just I mean, gone like you would not believe. We're going to calm him down. Peter Bleksley is here. Both barrels are loaded, but we're just going to lay out the story for people who are just tuning in. I'm sure you will have heard about the Epping protest at the weekend. A peaceful protest. 50% of the, I'm going to say audience, but people there initially were women. They were concerned for their local community. It was the Bell Hotel. An illegal migrant had allegedly, he's denying it, but I think it's quite true, but I don't know, had sexually assaulted a 14-year-old schoolgirl. The school's next door. I don't know if it's true or not, but at the end of the day, the guy says it isn't. There's a legal process going on. That creates tension. People were protesting. There was a wonderful video on Twitter of a blonde-haired woman saying, I'm a mother of 3. We have concerns. At the weekend on Alex Phillips' Breakfast Show, a certain Peter Bleksley intimated, did you not, that you thought there was more to this story, vis-a-vis the police, very short word, one-word answer, than was let out. You did, didn't you?
I certainly did.
That's it, no more, because you're ready to blow, and I want you to blow... That didn't sound right. Anyway, we're back to it. Footage emerges, ladies and gentlemen, of Essex police bussing, either in or out, members of Stand Up to Racism, Antifa, which are basically, far left, anti-right, hate pro-immigrants, hate everybody. The police picked them up in masks, right, and drove them or escorted them, put them in the middle of where the peaceful protest was. It all kicked off, footage, they're all far-right thugs, and then took them out. Today, the Chief Constable of Essex, Ben Julian Harrington, dismissed calls that are growing by the second, thank God for his resignation, because, you see, the force initially said we didn't bus anybody. But the footage proves they did bus anybody. This man, by the way, who believes that hate speech is the biggest crime, this man who attempted to arrest Alison Pearson, the Daily Telegraph journalist, this man whose crime success is 13% in Essex, this is him at his bleeding press conference. Have a listen.
If you're not apologising, are you going to follow the demands of some politicians in this country who have called you to resign over this?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. And this is not about me. This is about the communities of Essex, is what I spoke about earlier. You know, the communities that are disrupted, the legitimate people who want to go and protest outside that hotel, and I make no observation of that view of that. If they're peaceful and lawful, they want to express their views, that is their right, and this is important that within the laws of this country, that Essex police allow that to take place. I come back to the point where people break the law, where they smash up police vans, where they assault workers from the hotel, where they are chasing people away. Those are the people that we will not tolerate.
Not long to wait, Pete, but let's get a sample of what our viewers and listeners think. Simon, a voice note on Epping.
Hi, Jezza, it's Simon from sunny Devon. I'm tired of hearing about far-right extremism and things like that. The only extreme position I can see is coming from the Tory government previous to the current Labour government. The extremism of allowing people to come across on rubber dinghies, fighting age men and putting them up in hotels. That's an extreme position, if ever there was one.
Lee, also on Epping.
Hi, Jeremy, it's Lee from Uckfield. Is there anyone that's not corrupt now in this country? We've got the government, we've got the police force. Who else is there that's this corrupt? They are an absolute shower of shambles.
And finally, again on Epping, Ian.
Hi, Jeremy, it's Ian from East Grinstead. Talking about the riot in Epping, not riot, but the demonstration in Epping, and you talking about Keir Starmer not coming out and saying anything. I think Keir Starmer's complicit in this, because then he can spout out his far-right line, which is the only line he seems to spout, or seems to like spouting, along with the rest of the government. And so it's saddened me to say, but they're the most anti-British government that we've had for decades, or ever, I should say.
Completely agree with all of them. Now, he's... Peter Bleksley, good afternoon.
The uncharacteristically quiet Peter Bleksley thus far.
Ben Julian Harrington, the Chief Constable of Essex Police, is not your favourite person, is he?
Known as BJ to his mates. He is. He is.
Benny, that's a great opening line, Bleksley. Well done.
Yes, Mr. Harrington. Let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Harrington. He is the National Police Chief's lead, so the national leading officer in the land on public order and policing operations, OK? So he's the most senior cop in the land. Beyond his chief constable role, he is the uber cop when it comes to public order and operations. He leads nationally on that. So today, he gives this press conference. All right, credit where it's due. He didn't read from a script, and he did take questions. That's where the credit ends. He was asked a question by somebody who's not from what I would call the mainstream media, because there were, of course, the usual suspects from the BBC and other outlets, which I quite frankly think are brown-nosing, boot-licking kind of outlets that will toe any party line they're told to. No, this question was asked of him, and it was about the operation, the policing of that disturbance at the Bell Hotel, which originally started as an entirely peaceful, legitimate process. And in fact, while Mr. Harrington was comfortable espousing the words of the College of Policing, the stuff that he's been brainwashed with, right? So while he was comfortable and talking about right to protest, breaking the law, while he's just parroting all those lines, he was very, very comfortable. Then the questioning began. It wasn't all as he would like it. And in answer to a question, this is now, I'm taking out, by the way, the ums, the ahs, and the stumbles, right? And I'm giving the words to you straight. This is what he said.
The glasses have gone on, we're in trouble,
policing,
people. Yeah.
About the policing of that protest at the Bell Hotel in Epping. He said, Chief Constable Harrington, "It is not for me to comment and to try to criticise or indeed to examine that operation." Let that sink in. That's what he said. It's not for him to comment, criticise or indeed examine that operation.
The operation of transporting...
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Of course it is. He's a chief constable. It's exactly what his job is. In fact, he has a national responsibility for public order and operations. A national responsibility. And he absolved himself of that responsibility shamefully and cowardly.
And they lied over the last couple of days. They said there was no footage. They said they hadn't transported people. Is this worm, I love that, is this worm of a chief constable going to distance himself from his force now, who have been proven to lie about this?
And let me just say, while I'm still on this particular line,
left hand down now, getting angry by the minute,
comment, criticise or examine.
Yep.
At the end of each and every policing operation, if it is done properly and effectively, you have a debrief. Whether that's executing a search warrant at a drug dealer's, whether it's carrying out a surveillance operation on serious and organised crime, whether it's a public order event in Trafalgar Square, at the end of it, you come together and you debrief. And you say to each other, what did we do well?
We've never done that on this show.
What could we have done better? What have we learned from this? If we have to do exactly the same tomorrow, how can we improve what we did?
How can we make it better? Yeah, I got you.
That's what proper professional policing does. So for him to come out with that line is utterly, utterly shameful.
Let's talk about the man. Let's talk about the man, B.J. Harrington, as he's now called after Blexley delivered that, the Chief Constable of Essex, B.J. Harrington. I said earlier, Mike sent me some info. This is the police force. This man came out in 2021 and said that hate crimes, speech crimes, are the worst crimes and are the very, they're almost a cancer in the United Kingdom. He and his force arrested that brilliant journalist Alison Pearson for a tweet that was a year old that could have got her 7 years in jail. She, with the might of the Telegraph, has taken him on, and I hope that she wins her case. This is a man whose force only achieved a success rate of 13.35% on crimes solved last year. That means 86% of crimes in Essex, right? Crimes where people's livelihoods, their belongings, whatever, are taken, destroyed, whatever, haven't been solved. This is a man who arrests over a person a day for hate speech crimes. This man's got an ideology. My question to you, and I thought Mike put this brilliantly, is... You always talk about the College of Policing, you talk about how the greasy pole, getting there, the wokerata, it's not about police work anymore. Is this on him, or has this come from higher up? Because without being conspiratorial, hear me out. After Southport, Keir Starmer went, it's all the far right. And the police went on the streets, arrested people. They were on trial. That was filmed. They were on trial on television within 5 minutes. They were thrown in jail within 5 minutes. We had no jail space, but they found space. There were no judges, but they found judges. There were no police, but suddenly Starmer's militia took to the streets and he labelled everybody far right. That protest in Epping was peaceful. That police force has stirred that up. That, to me, is... You said it on Sunday. Is he not complicit in terms of a job in the public? He's responsible for causing that trouble, isn't he?
Of course he is, because ultimately the buck stops with him, and you and I come from a generation whereby real leaders in such circumstances fell on their sword and they resigned their positions. Yeah. Unfortunately, we've kind of slithered away from that across the board, generally speaking. And I'll tell you why it is so upon him, because there's echoes here in what he said of a former Met Commissioner, Cressida Dick. She used to say...
never take that name
She used
seriously.
to say, everything's fine,
yeah,
everything's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we know the horrors that lay deep within that organisation that manifested themselves in the worst possible way.
Absolutely.
That's what happens when you talk like that. That's what happens when you do not challenge your organisation. That's what happens when people that work under you, you don't say, could you have done this differently? Should you have done this differently? Could you have done it better? And I'll tell you how they could have done it differently and better. That was to keep that Antifa rabble far away from what was a peaceful protest at the Bell Hotel in Epping.
So answer me this, as a punter, right, as a voter. To me, I used the word to you at the beginning. To me, it's quite chilling to think that an institution that I grew up to believe should protect us, defend us, that I was scared of. You didn't want the cops taking you back to your mum and dad, right?
Yep.
Is now so governed, whether it's through ideology, I don't know what it's governed by, but it does beg the question, what else and when else have police forces the length and breadth? I hate to even say this. Has this happened before? Is this a regular occurrence? Do police forces, to make themselves look good or improve their figures, wind people up to get reactions? It's absolutely, but more than that, does it not show that Essex police are happy to show those people who were peacefully present, to try and label them as far right? That also feeds into the government's ideology, doesn't it?
Thank you for such a delicious question, and let me answer it by giving you an example of when the policing was very, very different. The Metropolitan Police on this occasion. Do you recall there was a far left protest and there was a counter protest by people that would be labelled from the far right?
Yeah,
and about 200 of them were kettled on Westminster Bridge, surrounded by the Territorial Support Group, who were in full public order gear, otherwise known as riot gear, and they were held there. Many of them were handcuffed, and they were held there. They were kettled there. They were not allowed to move for hours.
Did they not get in a police van and get a lift?
And this is recent policing history. That kind of tactic, if it's good enough for those protesters, then it is perfectly suitable. In fact, I would say should have been compulsory to these protesters that turned up at Epping. And why were they going there? To agitate, to irritate, to potentially stir up trouble.
Right, so stop.
That's why they were there.
Absolutely, so stop at that point. So when that... I nearly called him the wrong word. When he stood up in that press conference today, this is what I would have asked him. You've talked about the right to protest. Absolutely. You've acknowledged that your community has concerns. Absolutely. We saw predominantly women protesting because they were concerned that allegedly a illegal migrant who's been here 3 days tried to force himself upon a 14-year-old. He says not, so we can't say any more on that, right? That caused fear, right?
Anger,
concern, whatever. The police's job is to watch that, control that. These people are not locals. Whether it's Facebook, whether it's social media, I don't know what it is, they came in. Surely he and his motley crew would have gone at the station. No. You lot are going to wind those people up who are peacefully protesting. I'm going to... Yes, I did. He transports them down, and then the media go, the mainstream media, oh, there's far right down there throwing bricks. Frightening, chilling, worrying.
And when he spoke so much about protecting communities, preventing crime, and allowing protest, OK, there is a balance to be struck. That group came there deliberately with intent to irritate, agitate, and therefore it is blatantly obvious, as clear as the nose on the end of my face, that they were there to potentially cause an environment where crime may be committed.
Encouraged by the police who took them there.
Who should not have taken them there, who should have said, you can have your protest, but you're a mile away from the Bell Hotel.
Yep.
Stand there, wave your placards, we're setting a time limit on it, and then you're off.
But then explain...
Do not walk them to the vicinity, to the proximity, to where the other protesters are.
So motivation for doing that cannot be in any way described as good police theory, because you would have known that that would create a powder keg. So then you conspiratorially go, did you want a powder keg? Does that suit you? Can you tell me what agent provocateur is? Because Mick says police have fallen into the old trap of favouring one protest group compared to another. It's called agent provocateur, a well-known defence in court. I thought it was where I bought my wife's knickers from.
No, the actual definition of an agent provocateur...
But that's where I buy my wife's knickers from.
Well, that's too much information for me, to be perfectly honest with you, but there you go. To be an agent provocateur in legal terms means that you kind of coerce, persuade, even bully, force someone into doing something that they wouldn't normally do.
Right.
For example, when I worked undercover, you couldn't go around saying to people, go and do this, go and do that, go and do the other. It was only people who were willing volunteers who were offering to do things. So that's not quite the strict and correct interpretation of being an agent provocateur there. But just to rewind and get this whole Epping thing right, of course the right to protest is sacrosanct, and of course it's cemented into our national fabric. But that right does not come at the expense of potential law breaking.
Absolutely right.
So that group should have been allowed to wave their placards, blow their horns, shout their slogans, but not so close to the protest that was already there, that was peaceful, so that there could be aggravation.
I wonder if the boots had been on the other foot from B.J. Harrington, as you named him. Do you think that if those pro-immigrants, Antifa, Vile, Stand Up to Race, Antifa, if they were there, do you think the police would have encouraged the local community to turn up?
Imagine if the situation was reversed.
That's my point.
So there were a large number of Antifa, stand up to racism, call it what you will, a large number, say 1,000 of them, because I think at some point at Epping there were 1,000 or so people there, and they were peaceful, they were protesting, they were doing whatever they wanted to do in any given situation, anywhere in the UK.
Sure.
1,000 of them. At a local train station comes 30 or 40 people, perhaps wearing Dr. Martens, perhaps wearing turned-up jeans, T-shirts, braces, and maybe not a lot of hair among them. And perhaps they've got St George's flags draped around their shoulders. Do you think the police would have given them an escort to the proximity of the pre-existing anti-fascist, Antifa, call it what you will, demonstration?
No.
So close that they could have got into a situation where there would be conflict and law breaking? Do you think that would have been allowed if the roles were reversed?
No, not at all. Don't go anywhere. We're going to give you some oxygen. The legend that is Peter Blexley is here. He kicked this off on Sunday. It's really blown out the water. We'll take your calls. 0344 499 1000. This is Talk Drive.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
About 5:25, Peter Blexley, a bloke broke the story about the Essex police at the weekend, is with me. Are we slightly calmer now? Not really.
I'm pleased that I've got it off my chest to a certain extent.
John in Lincolnshire, the Essex police chief has to be fired for lying in public office. Joe is listing in Saudi Arabia. The police always use the tactic of pushing counter-protests as close as possible to try and cause trouble when the protests do not fit the narrative. It doesn't work the other way around. I've seen it many times. The police are also put in undercover agitators. Quick response to that?
Those allegations are bouncing around on social media. I'll say nothing until there's proof.
Ash in Slough, I'm boiling with rage. Let's set the terms out correctly. The protest was about child safeguarding from sex offenders. Yvonne, or even Francis from Yapton. The police are playing us for fools. Barry, when a girl or woman are assaulted allegedly by an immigrant in this country, the Tories and Labour are complicit because they have done bugger all to stem the tide, if you like. Anne Sewell, Jeremy, can you give me Harrington's phone number, as I want to go to a protest and I'm looking for a lift there, which is my favourite one of the afternoon. David Thomas, good afternoon to you, sir. Thanks for your message. On a weekly basis, the Free Palestine marches go ahead unchallenged, but if any other organisation tries to join the marches with an alternative view, they are stopped or arrested, Peter Bexley.
There you go. Just echoes everything we've been saying in the last 25 minutes.
Don in Chelmsford, the Essex Chief Constable has got to be removed. His press conference was a bloody farce. His double talk was embarrassing. Angie in London, never heard so many lies from a copper. Would they put Millwall fans into a West Ham match deliberately? Of course they wouldn't. And that's true, isn't it? That's the thing. Cliff's in Berkshire. Who called the pro-immigration protesters in? They were very well prepared. I just hope they weren't police officers themselves with covered faces. You see what happens now?
Again, that rumours, that suggestion is bouncing around out there.
Colin Ferguson, I want to know what the hell is going on in the police people's heads. What's their friends and families saying to them? They must have concerns like the rest of us. Sue, this regime, I refuse to call it a government, is very, very corrupt. Finally, for now, Joe, you must emphasise that local protectors must not rise to the provocation. You lose if you take the bait. That's true. Here, Joe. Completely agree. None of us want to see that. I hated when I saw it, and I was on air and I went, oh, that's the far right infiltrating it, and that's so wrong because I'm talking about the community. If it's more than that now because it's been, preempted and allowed by the police, dreadful. You all right for a couple of calls?
Yeah.
London, Trevor, you're straight to myself and Peter Blexley. You're on Drive. Good afternoon.
Yeah, hello. What I'd like to say is I wouldn't be surprised if this was a ploy by the police and the government, that when they brought these protesters into Epping, so that therefore they knew that they would add fuel to the fire, and by doing so, then they would point the fingers back at the people at Epping and say, "You were the culprits. You started this." And why take the people back to the train station? But what I would say to the Labour government, time is on the people's side. Come the next elections, you won't have a job because people are going to vote you out. So enjoy what you've got now. You won't have it in 4 years' time.
That might be the case, my friend, but my concern, thank you, Trevor in London, Peter Blexley, is that we'll be so skint, there'll be such division, there'll be nothing to pick up in 4 more years of this rag-bag tale of... I mean, it's only been 12 months, Pete.
That tremendous call really illustrates how people can begin to think when they have senior leaders, highly paid public servants like B.J. Harrington standing up and coming out with statements, the line of which I've read a couple of times, and the public go, something's wrong here. Could this have been deliberate? Such is the thinking that will take hold and will flourish when we have such lamentable leaders who are clearly not being entirely truthful with
Mike and I were talking earlier about, and I don't do conspiracy theories, but you have to look at what's happening politically with Nigel Farage and reform. You have to understand, I don't mean that, you know what I'm saying, that millions of people in this country are now hankering for change from a system, from the Tories to Labour and vice versa, that hasn't worked. Nigel Farage is a divisive figure, I would suspect. He's a polarising figure, certainly, but right now, because he seems to be talking about the things that matter, because he seems to have the political nous to zone in on things that the public are concerned about, he's streets ahead of everybody. Do you think that this is an example, and other things are increasing examples of the establishment panicking at what they can see unfolding in the next 4 years.
Quite possibly, but I'm fed up to the back teeth, like so many people are, of the establishment failing.
Yeah.
And the finest example of that has come out today, of all days, when Starmer and Rayner talk to the Cabinet, and they highlight all the fact that, these are my words now, the nation is a tinderbox.
Yes.
And if there is one spark, it could go up, which I don't want to happen, and I'll never condone violence, and rioting is an idiotic thing to do, but I'm afraid to say this nation is a tinderbox. With all of that, they say to the Cabinet today that they have to, wait for it...
Ready for this, people?
...improve integration. Can you believe it? How far off the mark are they? No. Let's not worry about improving integration. Why don't you get a grip on immigration for a start?
Yeah.
That might go a long way to settling a few people down. Why don't we have consistent, truthful, honest, upfront policing instead of obfuscation and people dodging questions and, quite frankly, coming out with nonsense? Why don't we dismiss, get rid of, extract, rid ourselves of the DEI wokery ideology, which is costing people jobs, undoubtedly costing the economy money and irritating people. They're fed up to the back teeth of it.
Throw in their net zero. One final caller. Mark, you're on Talk Drive. Just 2 minutes with myself and Peter Blexley. What you got?
Hi, Jeremy. Hi, Peter. Hope you're doing well. Got two stuff to say. Why doesn't have the chief constable the decency to step down? Because we got it on tape anyway. You see the leftists get into the bus and drove to the protests. So why? And the leftists are in England totally in meltdown mode.
I absolutely agree they're in meltdown mode. I touched upon that before. We'll finish. Thank you, Marky. We'll finish with this, Pete. Will he resign? Will he be pushed? Or will the left-wing establishment protect him?
No, yes. And it breaks my heart to give those answers.
I love having you on, mate. You're a legend. I will get text after text saying that you should be the next police chief. You should be. You speak such common sense, which is what talk is all about. We thank Peter Blexley. He's going to go and sit down in a dark room and have a beer now and try and calm down whilst I rant on for another hour and a half. Russell Quirk, talk presenter next on Talk Drive, and a T-shirt. Nice.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on On your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, it doesn't return Monday night. It's on tonight, isn't it? Isn't it on tonight? Wednesday night, Petri asking? Yeah, it is, so that's great. We'll get rid of that jingle as well. It needs to say Monday to Wednesday, yeah? 25 to 6. Shall I do everything in this building? 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. By the way, the girls are here again. If you want to be on, the amazing Faith is taking your calls. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Jodie's here, Amy's here. Who else is here? I don't know. Anyway, we say a very good afternoon. A man who rang me earlier today was so incensed, utterly incensed by what's going on, certainly in terms of Essex. Russell Quirk, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I was incensed. And look, that's why, can I just apologise for my sartorial ignorance sitting here in a T-shirt?
You look like you've just come out of Guantanamo Bay. What's going on?
I look like I've just done a shift as a chef.
Don't know what?
It's hard to say, isn't it?
Yes.
Shift as a chef.
What have you done?
Well, no, I left the house this morning ready for some internal meetings in London. Then I got incensed by the Essex Police so-called press conference.
Sorry a second. Sorry.
Are you going to take a call?
Ava, I'm on air. Yeah, I'm on television. It's what I do. Are you watching me on television? So you know, it's lovely. I'll speak to you later. Love you. Bye.
Let us know what you think of everything that this man's saying, despite the fact he's being
I'm
interrupted.
on the television behind her and she's rung me up. What two brain cells? Should be a cactus plant. Right, help me out.
But you answered it. Right, so, look, obviously what you've just talked about with Peter Blexley, well rehearsed, absolutely spot on, and I can't add to it. However, what I would add to is the fact that we shouldn't just see this as an isolated Epping thing where Essex Police are concerned. So we need to remember that Essex Police are the same force under the same Chief Constable and the same Police and Fire and Crime Commissioner Roger Hurst that doorstepped Alison Pearson.
Yeah, said that.
Not only doorstepped Alison Pearson, but then went on to another radio station the next day and did not apologise for it, but justified why journalists should have their front doors banged.
Do you know that in 2021, he's now called B.J. Harrington, by the way. That's named by Peter Blexley. Yeah, you can't blame me. Do you know in 2021 he said, and I quote, "Hate speech crime is the most important crime in Essex." You live in Essex.
Yeah, I do live in Essex, which is why I'm incensed. So these people are supposed to be protecting us.
Yep.
Roger Hurst, the Police and Fire and Crime Commissioner, this morning has said on his website that he is absolutely determined to make sure that he protects the integrity of asylum seekers. That is what that man has said this morning, right?
But what about this is my thing.
What about legitimate protesters?
There was a wonderful,
what about the public?
There was a wonderful woman on Twitter. Did you see it? The blonde-haired lady walking down with a camera. She's got 3 kids. She's concerned because the school next door to the migrant hotel, there's a guy. He's been here 3 days. He has allegedly, he says he hasn't, sexually assaulted a 14-year-old schoolgirl. The majority of people, not the majority, half of those protesters early doors were women.
Yeah.
Quite rightly, in their community, saying, we don't want this.
Yeah.
It then transpires that B.J. Harrington buses in Antifa, stand up to racism, there's a tinderbox, it all happens, bang. Do we not have a right to be concerned about our communities when there are people who are not vetted allegedly coming in and allegedly committing crimes?
Well, we also know from data, and I know for some people on the left, data and facts are rather inconvenient things, but we do know that there are people from certain countries that come here, often illegally, often anonymously, I'll say that again, anonymously.
Brilliant.
That we know have a higher propensity to commit crime, particularly violent crime and sexual crime. So people, for instance, from the likes of Albania, from Pakistan, from Afghanistan, have a higher propensity to commit sexual crime.
I don't know
than the
about
native.
that. Is that
No,
right?
it's true. It's absolutely true. And this is as a consequence of people like Rupert Lowe forcing the government and the Office of National Statistics to provide such statistics. So the concern, notwithstanding the fact that the person that's been accused of that sexual assault has just been charged, he hasn't been taken through the court process,
Yep,
definitely hasn't
very
been found
important,
guilty.
absolutely.
We should say that. However, the concerns of the public are well made on the basis that there is form, there is history.
Absolutely. Now, there's form and history, but you make the point and we repeat it because it's important. It's the way that you do the job. We don't know if this guy's guilty or not. But my point is not that. My point is a local community has every right. If you go with Mr. Harrington's theory that everybody should protest, you won't like what I'm going to say. Those women should be able to protest. And much as I don't like Antifa, they do as well. The point here is a police force that is supposed to protect us, create harmony and security, on video having denied it, has been proven to bring the two sides together and cause the trouble.
The thing that BJ Harrington is denying is that the protesters, the anti-protesters, the counter-protesters were bussed from the station to
He's
the
now
hotel.
saying they will walk there and bus back.
And I've seen that video. I spent all weekend, because I did a show here, funny enough. Did you know I did a show on Sunday morning?
No,
6
I
to
was
10? It was wonderful.
I was watching the grass
I
grow.
spent a lot of time looking at the footage. I cannot see footage of the police bussing people in. There's lots of footage of the police bussing people out. However, what they did do, and what has been admitted today, is that the police did walk those counter-protesters with masks on. Why? Why do they allow them to have masks on? When, funnily enough, we're not allowing it at the Notting Hill Carnival in a week or two's time because the police want to use facial recognition cameras. Again, another example of two-tier policing. So they did walk those 50 antagonists. I've seen video, and there's lots of it, showing that those counter-protesters, the so-called Antifa protesters, were threatening by way of gesture and shouting the peaceful parents that were protesting outside the Bell Hotel. You can see it. It's on YouTube. It's on Twitter. So the police, knowing that there was an antagonistic situation, knowing also that the protests up to that point outside the Bell Hotel, with hundreds and hundreds of local people that were being peaceful, those protests were completely benign. They were utterly peaceful. What do the police think is going to happen when they take a load of left-wing masked thugs right up to the point
and what
of
happens,
the protest?
as we said with Peter Blexley, if the boot was on the other foot?
So you cannot be forgiven, Jeremy, for thinking maybe there is another agenda here, and I think you touched on this just now. It's almost as if the authorities, whoever they are, politicians, police, etc., wanted there to be a flare-up, wanted there to be antagonism, so that, guess what, the next day the media could blame the same old trope as usual, the far right.
Johnny, voice note, Russ, on Epping, go.
Hiya, Jez, it's Johnny from West Yorkshire. I am sick and tired and fed up of this parasitic ideology that's managed to embed itself into all the key aspects of our society: the courts, the schools, the hospitals, the police, the government. It's an absolute disgrace, and it needs to be drawn out like the poison that it is. And to think that they think we're that stupid that will fall for this kind of, these cheap, dirty tricks, it's an absolute insult to our intelligence. And you know what? In the words of the late and forever great Ozzie Osbourne, we are going off the rails on this crazy train, and I, for one, want to get off. Cheers. Bye for now.
Top, man. That's a voice note, isn't
Jeremy,
it?
Ben Julian Harrison as Chief Constable must resign. Roger Hurst as Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner must resign.
Sack them both.
Not just because of this incident over the last 24, 48 hours in Epping, but for the reasons that we set out around Alison Pearson, the fact there was no apology, the fact that the police in Essex think they can doorstep journalists to stop them having their own
but they're not going to. Pete said.
But listen to this as well. I've done FOI requests on Essex Police. This is also the force that last year spent £614,000 on diversity roles. That is the equivalent of 20 police officers that are not on the streets because Roger Hurst and BJ Harrington decided that DEI, equity and so on, and inclusion is far, far more important than actually policing our streets. You also have 1 in 9 police officers in Essex, Jeremy, off on long-term sick at a cost of millions of pounds to the public. Council tax has gone like that in Essex since 2016. Crime is now 25% higher than when Roger Hurst took office in 2016. These people have to go. Sacked, resigned, I don't care which mechanism, they've got to go.
Cool, if you're OK. We'll go to Reigate. Charlie, I'm here with Russell Quirk. What you got? A couple of minutes on drive time.
Jeremy, I've calmed down a little bit now. I can tell you exactly what's going to happen here. This is a plan. So Keir Starmer has got on the phone to old BJ and said to him, roll the Antifa boys up to the protest, let's start some trouble. And do you know why he's done that? Because last night or the night before, Nigel Farage went on telly and told the nation that there was going to be civil unrest, and it's coming. So that when it does kick off, and it will kick off at some point. Listen, I've been mixed up in something like this before. I'm not going to go over that, but something really, really similar to this. When it kicks off, Starmer's going to point his finger at Farage and say, "See, told you so. He started that."
Let me just do what I have to do as a responsible broadcaster. But you know me, I'm straight, right? I can't say that happened or didn't happen. I can't get involved with what you've said, but I will say this. I don't believe in violence, but I tell you, I completely agree with Blexley. Unless the political class get their heads out of their backsides and realise that it is not going to wash to simply say, all these protesters are far right or far left or whatever. The British people have had enough of being cajoled, lied to, led down a garden path, and now bankrupt financially and watch their public services being taken advantage of by people who shouldn't be in this country. And I don't believe in violence in any which way. I believe in the power of the vote and I believe in democracy. But I will say this, if our politicians don't understand the severity of the concern, Russ, they're missing a trick. And why Nigel Farage, right, is generating the support he is, as I said at the beginning, thanks Charlie, is that he is speaking about the things that people... Do you know in the old days, don't laugh at me, Jode, right? Well, I did a radio programme for years,
How far back are we going, Jess?
a phone-in radio station that was massively successful called Confessions, and people would say that I would sit on the drive and listen because he said the things that I was thinking. Nigel Farage, this is me as a voter, right now, talks about the things that I, as a voter, am concerned about. I don't hear it from Badenoch, I don't hear it from Starmer, I don't even know who the hell Ed Davey is, but I'm being completely serious. Now, I don't know whether it would be any good if he gets in, whether there's meat on the bone. But don't disrespect the British people, because the British people have had enough.
No, and you know, unfortunately, and again, I'll be cautious here, we are now starting to see more and more protests. So apparently in Norfolk, day before yesterday, another alleged migrant hotel.
Canary Wharf in London.
Canary Wharf, the Britannia Hotel. That's costing, by the way, £80 per migrant per night, and that is, I checked on booking.com yesterday, that hotel has been taken by the government for months and months in advance. So 600 rooms, 2 people in it, so 80 quid a room, blah, blah. It's millions and millions of pounds that the government have committed to paying for the Britannia Hotel just to put migrants in. Whether they're coming from the Bell Hotel or not, I don't know. But they have still booked out that 4-star hotel in Canary Wharf for the long term at a cost of millions of pounds to the taxpayer, rather than solving the very problem at source, which is to not let them in the first place. One other point, just quickly, because you're bound to throw me out in a second. What I think is fascinating about what's happened in Epping and BJ Harrington's pathetic press conference this morning,
dreadful,
where he says, look, it's up to us to ensure that the public can protest. No, it isn't. The police do not have an obligation to ensure that people protest. They have an obligation to make sure that things are peaceful, and actually driving those counter-protesters to the other protesters was the opposite of doing that. But what did the police, the Met Police in particular, do when it came to the St George's Day protests, the Southport protests, the Patriots at Remembrance Day last November, trying to exercise their right and their freedom of speech? What did the police do in those instances? They kettled people. They stopped them getting to the counter-protesters. Why didn't they do that in Epping yesterday?
Couldn't agree more, mate. Could not agree more. We appreciate it. He was so angry because he lives in Essex that he came in all the way from... And, I mean, listen...
But it's the council tax we pay to the police authority, and we never see a police officer. Crime is through the roof. You know the detection rate for rape in Essex? Guess what it is? The detection rate, 3%. 97% of rapes.
I've got another hour to do. I'll be getting more and more angry.
People get off scot-free.
Next time you come in, don't wear such a tight T-shirt. I'm being
You like
serious.
it, don't you?
Not really. Thank you for coming in. We love him. Russell Quirk on a television and radio near you very soon. This is Talk Drive.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
8 minutes to 6, we're live across the United Kingdom. Loads more calls to come. 0344 499 1000. Text to... Why am I doing that? Text to 87222. Don't forget, the double act, the loving, the bromance continues. I'm joining Mike Graham on breakfast tomorrow morning from 6 o'clock at your place. Got to get up at 4:30, for Christ's sake. Got to go to bed about 5. Oh, no, I can't. I'm on here till 7. Push the button, Ames.
Sport Summary on Talk.
I'm actually looking forward to breakfast in the morning, but I'm looking forward to this as well. Time for some sport with, as it says here, a man who doesn't know an awful lot about anything to do with sport, but he's a nice chap. Ian Danter, good afternoon.
I didn't know you wrote your own scripts.
Hey, where are you? It looks a bit dark, son. Have you not paid the bill?
This is backstage of the Winter Gardens in Blackpool. We're getting ready for night 5 of the darts.
Oh, yes, this is Ian Danter, darts commentator. God, you won't do any for me. I need to know how you go. He's he's a treble 20. Oh, he's going for the...
You snob. You elitist snob, Kyle. I'll have no more of this from you.
I'm not elitist at all. I went on a bus the other day. Do you know, I went on a bus. I did. I had to go on a bus. It stopped to let other people on and off, but I went on one. Anyway, joking apart, I love the darts. Luke Littler looked in awesome form. Is he playing tonight?
He is. He's up against the Dutchman Jermaine Wattimena, and he made light work of his first round opponent a couple of nights ago. I think he was done in about 10 minutes of play time to get the job done in round 1, and the smart money's on him doing exactly the same tonight, because what Luke Littler has been doing, Jez, is he's been picking and choosing the tournaments to play in the regular season.
There's a lot of them. Until Luke Littler inspired my interest in darts, I didn't realise how many tournaments there are, but because he's that good, he's prioritising. This is part of the Triple Crown, isn't it, of darts, of course?
That's right, and he wants to do that. He's ticking all the titles off as they go. He's got the Grand Slam, he's got the UK Open, he's got the World Championship, of course. So this is you would say, the next on the list. And
who wins? Who wins the whole tournament? Ian Danter, darts specialist for TalkSport. Who wins it?
Yeah, the way Luke Littler is playing, it's going to take a pretty monumental effort to stop him. But I will say that James Wade, who won the tournament back in 2007, he's a 5-time runner-up. He's already won both his games, posting a 100-plus 3-dart average in both of his games. And he's looking... his nickname is The Machine, and he's every bit that, the way he's played so far at this tournament. He's just been relentless. So, yeah, just keep half an eye on James Wade for the rest of these championships.
Lionesses last night, unbelievable. I was on the train, 96 minutes. Michelle, I can't say him. Ayamang?
Adjumang.
Thank you very much. Is she's not Pierre? No, not that one. Anyway, brilliant, 96, and then Chloe Kelly, the rebound on the old penalty. And this is me as an overview, because it is astonishing, actually. Into the third final. They're getting it done, playing particularly badly, with respect. Not badly, but not great, which is always a really bloody good thing, because presumably in a tournament dance, you then know at some point there's going to be a magnificent performance, and one hopes it's the final, right?
That's true. I mean, we don't know the finalists yet that will play. It's Germany or Spain who play tonight at 8 o'clock. And then the final will be on Sunday tea time, live on TalkSport.
Are you doing that, or are you doing the darts? What are you doing?
It's the darts final later that evening on TalkSport 2. So it's a big old busy day of sport once again across the network. But if it's Spain, and Spain are the best team at the tournament of these Euros, Jez, right? They are the best team. But if they have a weakness, and every team has a weakness somewhere, it would be at centre-half. Now, the way England are playing, the Lionesses are playing, they're playing very direct at this tournament. They're looking to find Alessia Russo early. Now, that sort of tactic might unsettle the Spanish in the way that other teams haven't been able to do so far. So keep an eye on that if Spain get to the final.
Good for that. Transfer news. I can't say his name. Gyökeres. Is that how do you say it?
Gyökeres.
I'm only joking. Arsenal's new number 9, all confirmed and done, right?
Seems to be very close to being done. But what it does to me is it shows the appalling level of scouting in this country. Gyökeres was at Brighton, right, originally. He went to Coventry City, had 2 excellent seasons. Nobody in the Premier League took a look at him. He then went to Sporting in Portugal.
For £4 million.
Yes, and has ripped it up, and now Arsenal are paying the thick end of, 70 million. Where were the scouts looking at it? And this isn't just an Arsenal thing, this this is a Premier League thing in general, Jez. I think the scouting network is the laziest that it's ever been in this country.
Only in the Premier League or in the League One? Oh no, sorry, Birmingham are in the Championship now, aren't they? Is it only in the Premiership? Serious question.
I think it is very. I think it's more prevalent in the Premier League than anywhere else. I don't think the other divisions get off scot-free, but I think there's so many stories of players who come through in the EFL and not scouted, then go away to play in continental Europe. Oh, all of a sudden he's a great player.
Good
well, you
point.
could have got him for £50 million less if it actually opened your eyes.
Good point. Day one, fourth test, Old Trafford. England struggling against India, although Pant has done his foot in.
Yeah, he's retired hurt. Actually, I don't think England are doing too badly, Jess. They're restricting India. It's not like they've had 70-odd overs and they're only 230 for 4. It's not like they've been piling on
They
the
put
run.
them into bat, mate. They should have rolled them over by now, shouldn't they?
This is part of what Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum seem to be doing. They seem to be, you know...
They like to
changing
chase,
things
don't they?
around.
They like to chase. They like to chase.
They do like to chase. And it looks an absolute flatbed of a pitch. So it may still hold out for a fourth innings run chase. We don't know. But Stokes has got one of those wickets. As you say, Rishabh Pant has retired hurt. So they're 4 down. So it's in the balance for day one. I think India will probably say they're winning day one at the moment, but another wicket or two could change that.
You know I love you, man. I'm going to pay you a massive compliment. You were on the show last week and you made a prediction for the British Open where I said Justin Rose, Tyrrell Hatton, anybody else. And who did you say?
Scotty Scheffler?
Yeah, you did. So Ian Danter is a legend when it comes to golf as well as darts.
That wouldn't stand up in court, Jess. It really wouldn't, that.
I'm not sure about the lighting there, Dance. It doesn't look great. It looks...
No, it does me... Jess, this does me loads of favours, this lighting, I'm telling you now.
I know that. I've
I've
seen you in the early morning. That didn't sound right, did it? Listen, so tonight the darts on TalkSport 2?
No, it's on the TalkSport Darts YouTube channel. Dead easy to find. Just type TalkSport Darts into the YouTube search.
No way. Is that how you get it? So if TalkSport Darts is on YouTube, if you type into YouTube TalkSport Darts, you'll find it, will you?
Funnily enough, you do.
Yeah.
And because we've got Germany against Spain on TalkSport 2 tonight for the other Women's Euro semi-final. So we'll be on the YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. It's a brilliant way to watch along and listen to the darts. I highly recommend it.
You're a good man. Listen, Dance, we appreciate your time. Wishing you luck with that, as ever. Good man. Ian Danter. The darts tonight on TalkSport on YouTube. That Germany-Spain semi-final. Who will face Britain? No, England. The Lionesses in the final on Sunday. That's on TalkSport 2. We continue after the news at 6 with one of my favourite guests, a weekly guest of ours, Brendan O'Neill, Chief Political Writer for Spike, will be here reacting to what's happening in Epping Forest. I've just seen Danny Dyer naked. That's a terrible thought. If you want to be on the next hour of Drive Time, 0344 499 1000. Your text messages, please continue them, 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Brendan on the other side of the news at 6, which is next on Talk.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
The angriest days I've ever known from you lot. 3 minutes past 6, we're live across the United Kingdom. In a tick, Brendan O'Neill, chief political writer of Spike. The main news story continues to reverberate. This Epping protest, obviously it was peaceful at the beginning. A video footage showed a lot of women. There were concerns. An illegal migrant in a hotel near a secondary school, the Bell Hotel, allegedly sexually assaulting a 14-year-old schoolgirl. He says he didn't. That's going through the courts. Tension in the community came out over the weekend, verified today, and everybody's backpedaling quickly now. The Essex Police Chief Constable, B.J. Harrington, as I've named him, Benjamin Julian Harrington, B.J. for short, a press conference this afternoon saying, well, I know I said there was no video footage of my officers bussing people in and out of this protest, people from Antifa and Stand Up for Racism, diametrically opposed to the people who were peacefully protesting. I know it looks bad, but we didn't do it. Well, you did. There's the footage. Well, it's important that everybody has their say. The police really on the back foot here. This guy on the back foot. Is this happening elsewhere? You know, somebody made the point in London, quite rightly, two sides, one was kettled. The police were actively involved in putting into a peaceful protest of local people who were concerned about a migrant hotel. Antifa, Stand Up for Racism, vehemently opposed, pro-immigration, find their right to protest, but why are you putting them with these people? You're causing that. Are you causing that to make yourself look good? Are you causing that because it's come from above, because the government can then say everybody's far right? Here's what you should know if you're just tuning into Drive Time. The Chief Constable of Essex Police is a man who said in 2021 that hate crime was the most awful crime and needed to be done. This is a man whose force last year only solved 13.35% of crimes. This is a man, right, the success of rape cases in his area, 3%. This is a man whose force went after Alison Pearson, the Daily Telegraph journalist, for a tweet, and she could have gone to jail for 7 years. This guy needs to go. The Crime and Police Commissioner needs to go as well, Mr. Hurst. They're an absolute disgrace. A disgrace. Listen, watch this, right, before Brendan. This is him, right? It's been proven that his officers drove people in masks into in a peaceful protest, and that's sort of encouraged. This is him today at a press conference. Have a listen.
I mean, there's been some accusation in the media that we drove people to the protest. That is not true. We have not driven anybody to that protest. People made their own way there. And of course, one of the accusations and one of the things circulated is we did take people away for their safety, for the safety of everyone there, because it was the best operational thing to do to prevent violence, to diffuse the situation. We drove them away from a violent confrontation.
A violent confrontation? You hadn't kettled them to keep them away for, you lying two-faced piece of whatever. Brendan O'Neill, chief political writer of Spike. I literally have to tell you, I don't know what to say anymore, because I think every fabric of this country I love is falling on its arse, pal.
It just seems to get worse all the time, Jeremy. Every week, you know, you and I are just going crazy with these stories. I actually think the Epping situation might be a tipping point, because people have had enough. They've had enough of having the mick taken out of them by the police, by politicians, by officialdom. They're sick of having people imported into their communities that they don't want there, that they think are troublesome or that they think are a drain on their community. And they're sick of being called far right and fascist just because they want to stand up for their communities and stand up for their kids. I think it really could be a tipping point in this whole discussion that we're having.
I agree. And I think, you know, I mean, there's so much about this particular story, right, that sort of concerns me. If you look, I believe in free speech if it's not violent. I think that the beauty of this country is you should be able to stand face to face, maybe at a distance in some instances, with somebody who you would spend your life disagreeing with, both have the ability to have your say. But when you've got a peaceful protest, it was a wonderful video. There you are. It's on. I'm seeing something now. I'm not far right. I'm worried about my kids. I don't know if you saw it on X. There was a blonde-haired lady, a mother of three, walking along, videoing herself and saying, look, I'm not far right. There's a hotel next to a school. There are rumours. I am concerned for my kids. Every single right. Surely this police force, by bussing Antifa and Stand Up to Racism in, or encouraging them and not stopping them, not kettling them, can stand accused of fueling the fire, which, without wanting to be conspiratorial, and I've been saying it all afternoon, then begs the question, why are people like Harrington and the police commissioner Hurst allowing this? Do they want... I know what I think, and we're mates, right? I think the establishment is terrified about Nigel Farage and reform, and I think the establishment will do whatever it has to do to try and convince people about things that perhaps aren't right. And all I would say is, and I'll keep saying it, the British people aren't going to swallow this. They know the difference between right and wrong. They know when they're being ripped off. They're a very fair people, but I think they realise and feel that they're at the back of the queue, and it's time to actually say enough is enough.
You know, if it's true that the cops marched these counter-protesters in there, let them in, let them do their thing, it's shocking, but it's not surprising, because those kind of leftists, those kind of bourgeois Antifa people, all of whom are middle class, university educated, they all think the same thing on every single issue, they all say trans women are women and all the rest of it. If it's true that they walk them in, it's not surprising, because those kinds of leftists are essentially the goons of the state. They're basically the heavies of officialdom. They're a mercenary wing of correct think, of correct opinion, and they will enforce that against these working class communities and these lower middle class communities in places like Epping. So what the cops have done is something actually deeply, deeply sinister. It's the kind of thing you would normally expect to see in a banana republic, where the state actually employs or deploys or in some way uses heavies, you know, non-state forces.
Mate, I'm with you, but people listening to you and I go, oh, they've gone off their bloody rockers. What are they talking about? For me, it's really simple, right? So the police, for you and me growing up, were supposed to defend and protect and create calmness and law and order. I find it particularly chilling, and I've nicked that word off Alex Phillips. We were doing Planko, and she's dead right. I think this is chilling because it begs several questions. Does this happen in other instances? What if this is about an ideology, which is saying that anybody who dares to be anti-immigration or whatever is labelled far right? That's very dangerous. I don't happen to agree with other protesters, but unless they're violent, I think they have a right to protest. But we're talking here about a police force that, as somebody said earlier, mix that round. You've got Stand Up for Racism and Antifa protesting, and the police allow a bunch of skinheads or far-right thugs. They walk them down, allow it to happen, and then bust them out. It wouldn't have happened. I think that people in communities will feel massively disrespected by this. And this guy, I mean, you heard me what I said about his force. I mean, he's the Alison Pearson guy, isn't he? He's the one that tried to get he's the one who... his force only achieves sort of, 1.3 of every 10 cases. I mean, they're horrendous.
You know, this is political policing. There is no question about that. We now have a highly politicized police force. And we've seen that over the past few years when you get a knock on the door if you write an unwoke tweet, or you can be arrested if you burn the pride flag. You can be corralled by the cops if you criticize mass immigration. We now have a political police force. It's like a softer version of what they have in Iran, where they enforce the kind of theocratic political writ of the state against ordinary people. As you say, when we were growing up, we thought the cops were fair. We thought they were neutral.
I didn't want to be stopped by them. I didn't want my collar felt. I didn't want them to drag me home to my ma.
Absolutely. They were firm but fair, and you expected, and in most cases, they would apply the law equally to everyone, regardless. Now, of course, they didn't always do that. There were failures, etc. But they weren't overtly political like they are now, and that's something that should worry all of us.
So much in the papers. I mean, I just talk about other things in a sec, but just to put you in some context, the government, though, we shouldn't panic, because today the Prime Minister and Angela Rayner, the deputy, are, and I quote, demanding action from their ministers to avoid a repeat of the violence that shook the country last July. Yesterday, you weren't with me, but yesterday 3 things happened. Yesterday, Angela Rayner said, I understand people are upset with migration. Oh, good, that's taken you a year then. Rachel Reeves stood up and said, I don't think companies should use the easy excuse of using immigration labour. Sorry, I thought you created that in 1997. And Starmer stood up and went, there's plenty of houses for everybody. I don't know whether these people are out of their depth. I don't know whether these people are rubbing their hands together so they can label everybody far right. But the phrase incompetence is being flagged to me on a daily basis by a sort of neutered government that doesn't seem to know or is too frightened to actually put its stamp on any of these issues.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I find myself thinking, are they incompetent or are they a little bit evil?
Deviant,
I think it's mostly incompetence. You know, I don't think they've got it in them to be as sinister.
I'm with you. I have to convince myself they're not intelligent enough to be that devious.
Yeah. Exactly. But, you know, this thing about off-seeing, you know, we don't want another summer of riots. Of course we don't. No. I really hope there aren't riots in this country. They're so destructive, they're so wasteful, and they're very dangerous. Everyone agrees with that. But the thing is, Jeremy, I think we're actually facing something worse than those occasional flashpoints of violence. We have a kind of unspoken civil war in this country. We have a low-level civil war, and the Battle of Epping really demonstrates that, between a ruling class that has utter contempt for its own borders and for community life, and ordinary people who are pushing back and saying, protect the nation, leave our communities alone. This is an unspoken conflict of historic proportions, and I think that's the real thing we should be talking about, not the possibility that there'll be some idiots on the streets over the summer, but the profound disagreements between ordinary people and this ruling class.
Where I agree with you massively there is I also will never condone violence. I hate it. I find it abhorrent. And I remember broadcasting about Epping on Monday, before we knew about these videos, and saying very loudly, I find it abhorrent. I get so angry when those thugs from the far right throw bricks and attack police, because it undermines a message that I think is quite important right now, as the far left undermines certain things that the left have that they want to make. All of that is, to me, completely unacceptable. And I also believe that you should be able to protest. But it worries me, like it worried me with the grooming gangs inquiry. It worries me, this is not conspiratorial again. How many institutions in this country, and this isn't my words, these are Baroness Case's words, have hidden, secluded, covered up, whatever, turned a blind eye to that, the most horrific thing, and then you get this and you think, well, I spent the afternoon saying to myself, I wonder how many other police forces or what else has been covered up. It just concerns me. It's the very fabric of the country that I've spent 60 years living in somehow seems to be at risk.
You know, the shocking thing is, and this is a really horrible thing to say, but it is completely true, we live under a government that has been complicit in the rape and degradation of working class girls. We live under an officialdom that is housing and giving money to illegal immigrants in hotels who are carrying out certain criminal offences. There's one hotel where I think a majority of the immigrants staying in it have been found guilty of certain offences. We have a technocratic government that is paying people who are inflicting harm on British communities. That is unprecedented in the history of this country, and we really need to get to grips with that.
I couldn't agree more. Let's talk about a couple of other things in the papers. This drives me even more, well, not even more, it's equally insane. The Labour Party, 3 weeks into coming to power last July, said the Tories got it wrong with the doctors. They haven't come to the table. We've gone to the table. We've given them a pay rise. They've had 22%. They've been behind the 8 ball. Everything's fine. Everything's good. Right. 6 months later, they get another 5.4%. By the way, nurses only got 5.4% anyway. Now they're out again, wanting another 29%. They have freely admitted people will die. We know that 250,000 appointments, serious appointments, will be lost. It'll cost the NHS 87 million quid. This is a 5-day strike by junior doctors instigated by the BMA. I want to ask you about the BMA. I made a suggestion on the show last night. Be interesting if they brought back the closed shop that Thatcher brought in. I would want to know how many of these junior doctors actually want to strike, and this isn't governed by radicals, because in the initial vote, I think only 30% of the union voted, and half of them, so you're talking about 15% of the entire numbers of junior doctors have instigated this strike, which is going to become worse next year, because under Angela, only 2 people have to say we want to strike, and you all got to leave work. Frightening.
Yeah. I totally agree. You know, Jeremy, I support the right to strike. And in the working class community where I grew up, I know people who went on strike.
Do you think doctors should be able to strike, Kidder, or do you think they should be like the police and the army?
Well, that's the thing. You know, I'm talking about people, working class people who really were being paid badly and treated badly. And as a last resort, they said, right, all out. We know that history. We know that it has a positive impact on some parts of this country and a negative impact in other periods. But what we're talking about now with doctors, I'm sorry to say it, but I think this is just bourgeois selfishness. This is the middle classes grasping for more and more pay, for more and more wealth, and they're doing it at the expense of ordinary people who are relying on those services to stay well and in some instances to stay alive. I really think we might have to have a discussion about whether and when doctors can strike, because this puts the whole nation in peril. It's a really dangerous situation if small numbers of radicalized doctors and radicalized members of the BMA are forcing the health system to go into complete disarray because they want to get everyone out on strike.
But I also would expect the junior doctors who aren't part of the BMA or haven't voted to stand up and make their voices count. Every time I get told off for this, but every time I see anybody from the BMA, they look about 11, at best 12. I don't understand how, genuinely, but I'm going to criticise a man who I've met many times, Wes Streeting. They've absolutely done him up a kipper. He thought he'd sorted it all out. They've made him look ridiculous. And quite how? The optics of expecting what's 23 and 5 is 28 and 57% pay rise in 13 months. It's the same money to politicians. Go and have a look. Go and ask people how hard it is, and imagine for 1 minute that anybody who is struggling in this country is going to think that that's acceptable. The optics are appalling.
Totally appalling, and it's going to make ordinary people feel incredibly resentful.
Yeah, I agree.
Because a lot of people are struggling to make ends meet. People who work for private companies who don't get paid that well, who often don't have access to the benefits that as British-born people they should have access to. These are the people who are suffering at the moment, and their energy bills are going through the roof. There's a possibility of more tax hikes. People are really being pinched in their pocket by this government and by the ideologies we live under. So when they see doctors and people who generally come from pretty comfortable backgrounds anyway, calling for a 50% pay rise or whatever it adds up to, that's going to make them increasingly angry. There will be no sympathy, I think, for the junior doctors.
Final story for us. We've talked about the appalling situation in Epping. We've talked about the junior doctors' strike. We've talked about debt over the weeks. Do you remember that story about that girl who pitched up at the Diversity Day in her Union Jack dress and was promptly told to sit in reception, and her dad quite rightly jumped up and down? There was another school. I actually haven't got the name of the school this week, but it was Diversity Day, and dozens of pupils turned up to celebrate British culture by wearing Union Jack T-shirts. Some had hats, some had scarves, some had flags. Dozens of them, 35 to be totaled, were put into isolation and sent home at the risk of being accused by the left of being, well, I don't know, apparently I'm not allowed to fly my flag. Well, sod that, I'm going to. Are you telling me that it is now going to be taught in our schools? Another thing that worries me, what these kids are being told, that if you're proud of wearing the... It seems to me that Ireland can be proud. Well, the Scots are proud of everything, the Welsh, the Irish, but we can't be proud of anything because apparently that's disrespectful and wrong. Again, part of what you said before, it's not going to go away. Why can't we be proud of our bloody country? I am. Well...
No,
not as much as I was.
I was just going to say, I've just come back from Ireland, and you see the Irish tricolour flying everywhere, outside a farmhouse, outside people's homes, in Dublin, all over the place. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, this feels weird, because in the UK, you so rarely see the Union flag. And if it is put up outside someone's front door or someone hangs it from their living room window, you'll get some posh idiot like Emily Thornberry looking down her nose at them and calling them white van men, etc., etc.
Well, let's just have that debate, because it really, really infuriates my father-in-law, Rob, and I know he's watching. We're not allowed to fly our flag because we're not allowed to be... Because apparently we're going to get back there. It's been, the St George's flag grabbed by the far right. Again, you're talking to millions of people who would like to fly their flag and be proud, who will feel that they're being ostracised or being told how to behave. And like you, I hate actual civil disobedience, and one of the things that is joyous about doing this is a platform where people can show their frustration. But I want somebody to answer me how we've become the unnorm, and that has become the norm. How has it crept up on us, and how do we do something about it?
You know what we do? We fly the flag. And if it's true that the far right has co-opted the England flag in particular, then we take it back and hang it outside on our lampposts or on our front doors. You know, there is this culture of national hatred amongst the ruling classes in particular. There's this fashionable shame at British history, British traditions, the British way of life. They actually hate the country they govern. And that's why
But also the people that come here because their own countries are so crap, why would they come to somewhere that they find so abhorrent and shameful? Why would you come here if we're so attractive and then try and change everything or knock it down or criticise it?
Well, exactly right. So you've got a government that is ashamed of its history, and you've got these illegal immigrants who want to live their way of life rather than our way of life. And the people who get ousted all the time, violently elbowed aside, are decent, ordinary, hardworking Brits who just want to fly a flag, earn a wage and live a good life. And it's time that those people's voices were heard.
We're going to end up in the same asylum, you and I, just sitting there dribbling with blankets on our legs, moaning about what's happened. But the fight continues. Brendan O'Neill, thank you so much indeed. Chief political writer for Spike. Fantastic man. 6:23. We're live across the United Kingdom. Close of play on the first day of the fourth test between England and India. India closing 264 for 4. And don't forget the news. This will excite you. Tomorrow morning, Mike Graham back here with breakfast. And guess who's with him from 6? You got it, you poor buggers. It's me. Back in 3.
It's going to be a very, very difficult summer. I think the Chancellor, along with her advisors, will be weighing up all those options before the autumn budget. And as what she herself said the other week, that the low-hanging fruit, those sort of easy pickings that when she came into office to try and raise some money, whether it was the national insurance hike on business, there's only so many times you can go back to the well on that, because confidence in the business community has been hit by that.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Kinsey Schofield live from LA and just a Jimmy Jam. Where does that come from in my mouth? 0344 499 1000. This is Talk. Thank you for your text. Talk. Who's this? Mike and you, a great team. Can't wait for the morning. Hello to Jane Slade. Evening, Jez. One question. Have the Essex police been asked why they even thought to allow masked protesters to protest against the locals in Epping? I love your honesty. Jane Slade in Suffolk. Jeremy, the sheer arrogance of this chief constable to tell the public that what they know they saw with their own eyes was not true. Who the hell does he think he is? Hello to Louise. Dear Jez, is Sexy Sarge on tonight? No, he's not. Because, by God, we need some joy today. Love you too, though. Great show. P.S. If I'm waking up with you tomorrow morning, can you please not shout till 6:30am when I have had my coffee? I'll be very gentle with you early doors, Louise. Hello to Dave in Worthing. I had an aunt who lived in Worthing with 2 bulldogs. There you go. Horrible old woman. I'm joking. You're 100% right, JK. The government are so afraid of reform and Nigel, they have no answers. We can't last 4 more years of this insanity. Don't know what that means. This country deserves all it gets as they voted the left-wing Marxist government in. I'm not reading the next bit. Gary Power, Jez, in March, my wife and I left the UK for a year. We were so fed up with what we were seeing so far. We have yet to find a worse-run country. We are now in New Zealand. I don't think we can get any further away. My happiest moments leaving the UK was cancelling my TV licence. Brilliant, fantastic. Joe Hanlon. Jez, do we really need to be categorised as far right or far left? We're all just so peed off with all of it. You don't need a political orientation at all. Just being fed up with the way this country disrespects its indigenous population does not invite political categorisation, just action. Debbie, good evening. Jez, I'm now starting to panic. My 27-year-old daughter works in Canary Wharf at least once a week, works till 10:30pm. Have I a right to be worried? Of course you have. This is what every constituency should do. If at least 10% of voters in the constituency sign the petition, the MP loses their seat and it will trigger a by-election. The recalled MP can stand as a candidate. That'd be interesting. And Paul in Worcester, before some calls, I cannot believe that only a year into this administration we've fallen so far. Free speech stifled, swivel-eyed police forces showing blatant bias, and an invasion of undocumented men that shows no sign of slowing down. The most worrying part is the disparity is becoming more and more blatant as our Prime Minister does absolutely the sweet route. Yes, you know. 6:30 to the phone lines. We're going to Kidderminster. It's posh there. It's not really. Steve, you're on Talk Drive. Couple of minutes. How you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, Jeremy. How are you?
Hacked off with life.
Yeah, aren't we all?
I mean, we laugh, but I honestly, it's frightening. I mean, I sit here today and a police force could be accused of colluding. The whole thing frightens me a bit.
It is frightening, isn't it? And that's why I called, because at the end of the day, we've got this guy, Ben Julian Harrington, BJ, as you call him.
Yeah, he's called BJ Harrington now.
Yeah, BJ. Not only should he resign, but I think he should be disciplined and prosecuted for incitement to riot.
Bet he won't. Bet he won't. Bet the establishment will close ranks, mate.
Of course he won't. Of course he won't. But using Mike's analogy, you know, it's like dragging a load of Millwall fans along to a West Ham pub and letting them get on with it. So.
And I also think what was really interesting, and I don't know who said it. Maybe it was Mike, I think actually it was Peter Blexley. Imagine if the boot was on the other foot, and we live in a world where people should be allowed to protest. I will never say you can't protest. If you're violent, I want nothing to do with you, whatever side. But I could spend my life disagreeing with you. You have a right to have your say. Blexley was saying, Can you imagine if sort of Antifa and Stand Up for Racism were protesting in Epping, and a bunch of 50 skinheads in Doc Martens and tight trousers and things through their nose, need I say any more? Would the police have bussed them in, would they? That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, of course not.
In every single instance, they've kettled people and kept them apart, and that's the point of this argument. It's not about whether I disagree with left or right. There's many things I agree with on both sides, but that's not the point. The point is the police who are supposed to elicit, if you like, calm, serenity, peacefulness, bust in people, walked in people and bust them out, whatever you want, BJ Harrington. They did that, and that caused the problem. The question is, without wanting to be, again, somebody that's caused, you're being conspiratorial, no, I'm not. Does that suit the rhetoric, then, for Starmer to stand up and go, they're all far right, these people, they're all far right? No, actually, that wasn't. I hate the far right, by the way. But I will not have what I believe to be sensible policies, low taxation, a strong border, police who are actually doing a job on the streets. I believe in those things. Am I far right? No, I'm not. And I refuse to be called that. That's how I see it. Steve?
No, I think you're just right.
You're very kind. Good man. Thank you very much indeed to Berkshire. Graham, you're on Talk Drive. Good evening. How are you?
Oh. Hi. Good show.
You sound surprised. You just went like this. You went, good show. I thought you were going to be absolute crap, Kyle.
I was getting a bit disappointed.
I beg your pardon?
What I heard this afternoon on a different talk show, I was getting a bit disappointed.
You were listening to something else instead of this?
No, it was talk. It was talk radio. But my question is that Northumbria Police got pulled up by the High Court for not being neutral at gay parades.
Right. Pride, yeah.
Yeah, that is nothing near as bad as what Essex Police have done.
Yeah.
Helping a group of outside agitators, because they took them from the railway station, so they weren't locals, to interfere with a peaceful demonstration.
Yep. Disgusting.
So, shouldn't somebody be taking this idiot of a police commissioner?
B.J. Harrington, he's called.
And B.J.
Yeah.
Well, the police commissioner's as bad from what he said.
Mr. Hurst, absolutely, couldn't agree more.
Shouldn't they be taken before the high courts to have their knuckles wrapped?
As I said to the last caller, Graham, I suspect that the establishment will close ranks. One, from my point of view, I wonder very strongly as to what. This is my concern. I wonder. I mean, is this the ideology of the boss? I mean, let's not. I don't know if you heard this earlier, but let's not forget that this man, B.J. Harrington, said in 2021, and Harrington, I'm going after you, I'm not giving up. He said in 2021 that the most important crimes to solve were hate crimes. Last year, his force only solved 13.35% of crimes, only 3% of rapes. This is a man who went after Alison Pearson, the journalist with the Daily Telegraph, over a year-long ago tweet, and he could have put her away for 7 years. The man's a disgrace, an absolute disgrace.
On talk radio, you have a journalist who was harassed because she was wearing shorts and a T-shirt going to collect her kids.
Absolutely.
And all the police said is that they were going to actually talk to the imam.
You've enjoyed this show, though, yeah?
Oh, very much so, yeah. It would be nice if we could get rid of the terms right-wing and just say thugs, and we could talk about our Tiefler as being bullies.
Good man, thanks for tuning in. I haven't got a clue. Who didn't he? I don't know. 25 to 7. No sexy Sarge, says Steve. Kinsey, says Steve. Oh. Kinsey is the beautiful smile we all need to see. God. Hi, Jez. The ruling class seem to want violence on the streets because it lets them off the hook because they can use the police to put it down, says Derek. I'm not sure the police are up to it. Sharon, why are our politicians and the establishment in general governing this country not only for illegal immigrants, not the British people? Why? Do they want us all to leave and take our money and taxes with us? How will they fund their ridiculous illegal migrant philosophy then? Jez, if they think that we are far right, they must be far wrong. Good, well done. Steve Chandler, if it is indeed the fact that the state and police took sides and brought the Antifa counter-protesters to stoke the flame, Starmer is untenable and now toxic. Peter Blexley will make an excellent Home Secretary. Talk, I salute you, Blexley. This nation would be a much safer place if you were Chief of Police or just running the whole lot of these corrupted idiots. This would never have happened under your watch. I know it. Yeah, Peter Blexley for king, I say. Michael, simple. We all can see what's going on. You can't keep saying the same old flannel. Our kids and borders are the main problem. On top of that, we've got lies, lies, lies. It's got to stop. Thank you very much. Oh, one more. Wendy from Hales Owen. Have you ever been to Hales Owen, Joe, in the Midlands? No. It's closed. Race, safety and criminality aside, we cannot afford any jobless, unskilled, penniless immigrants. Our teat has literally run dry. We are in debt up to our eyeballs. There you are. That's my phrase of the day. At 23 minutes to 7, it is official. The UK's teat has run dry. Back in 3.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
To come before 7 and Kev, a review of tomorrow's paper. It's sad news. Sarge, well, he's turning a bit of a sex symbol. He's not here. His boss, Will Barker, but he's got less hair than Sarge, so that'll be fun. Ahead of that, let's go stateside. I miss her. She was here. She was in my life. We sat on the 14th floor in the sunshine, gazing into each other's eyes. And then I got a fly in it, and I started... Ginzy Schofield, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. I feel like regret flicks would also be a good lower third. Not flicks is good too, but regret flicks would also work in this scenario. Harry and Meghan. Where was the return on investment, JK?
Listen, lovely to see you, by the way. Are you happy to be home in LA, or are you missing the United Kingdom already? You love it here, don't you?
Look at that lower third change right there. Love you guys. I miss you desperately. I hate it here. I miss you. I want to come back.
I don't know why you want to come here, because this country's on its backside. But whenever you come, it's like there's a spring in your step and your hat's at a jaunty angle, and we love you. We love everything about you. We had a great time last week. When are you coming back?
I'll come back before the holidays.
What does the holidays mean?
The Christmas holiday, the holidays.
The holidays, the Christmas holiday, mate. What do you mean? Hold on a second. But the holidays are in the summer here. You understand? People are about to go on the holidays. So when you say, I'll come back before the holidays, I assumed you were coming back tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Santa Claus. I'll come around Santa Claus.
Well, there's a story there, but I'm not going to do it on air because I get into trouble. He, of course, only comes once a year. Now, listen, on a serious note, that'll make Jimmy Kimmel look at her face. Right, let's talk about Harry and Meghan. I feel like we should all join hands and feel quite sorry for them and play some deep, low music because, of course, their £100 million deal with Netflix has officially been scrapped in a huge loss of revenue, face and everything else for the, once royal and now really bad influencer couple. I don't believe and can never have believed that Netflix thought that they were ever good. I don't even know why they spent that sort of money. There was the initial stuff, and then ever since then we've had Jam and Meghan with Love and him playing Polo, which is so elitist, nobody gives a toss. Where do they go from here? America's not in love with them anymore. The United Kingdom certainly are not. Is this why he's desperate for a reconciliation, do you reckon?
Absolutely. I do think that the reconciliation is realizing that they're running out of options. If I were Meghan Markle, I'd go back to acting. She can make a huge paycheck by doing not a lot of work, which is her favorite thing ever. But, she could just do cute little cameos. I also think that would help resurrect her reputation to take... quirky little, I think that if she popped up in different kind of pop culture moments, what she should have done was she should have done Suits LA before they canceled it. And now we're hearing that the production team is livid that she wouldn't do a cameo in Suits LA because it was canceled, and they felt like she.
I'm going to tell you what I think, because I'm coming to America. I don't know, September the 13th, right? So I was there last year. And first day, and my best friend went, Jez. We've gone on a golf trip with the boys, right? 10 days. And so we'd go out in the morning, we'd have breakfast, we'd play golf, we'd have a few drinks at the golf club, and then we spent every afternoon watching the same thing. And do you know what that was?
Deal or No Deal.
Meghan Markle on box 23 in a boob tube on Deal or No Deal from 20 years ago with Howie. Absolutely. It's like that. And I'm thinking, that is exactly what the problem is. But we were transfixed. And Meghan, I'm 23. Are you going to do it? And she goes, Howie, I'm ready with my box like this. Honestly, and I'm thinking, that turned out to be a duchess. I'm more interested. I think it was, we had, bless him, Matt Wilkinson, and he was talking about Harry, and he said that they did a poll recently to see about this reconciliation. And that in the past, it's always been like, Harry's Harry and Meghan's Meghan. The public are not very keen on him either right now, are they?
No. Well, I mean, if they did love Harry, I think that anybody would have tuned in to watch that Polo show that he did. But his Polo show was 3,436 out of 7,000 titles watched on Netflix. Only 500,000 people watched that show in 2025 in the first 6 months.
In the whole year, sorry, in 6 months, 500,000 people watched. That's worth a lot of money, isn't it? Not.
Well, I mean, by the time you and I stumbled upon our Jimmy Kimmel clip, it had over 1 million. So I think that's saying a lot. But one of the sources told Page Six that despite this, With Love Meghan was actually in the top 5% of Netflix shows at 383 and had outperformed other leading lifestyle shows like season 9 of Queer Eye. And to that, I would say Netflix just canceled that show. So lovely optics that you're trying to say, well, look, she's successful because...
I think she's up a creek without a paddle. She's walked away from an institution she patently thought she was going to control. She's taken because of privacy and used all of that. Then she signed this deal thinking she's become a superstar. You might well be right. I don't even think she's any good at acting. I was around when Piers was, absolutely, cut to pieces for daring to say that she was a liar. I think he was absolutely spot on 3 years down the line. I don't think that she as a person is a particularly nice person. And for me, I used to have sympathy for Harry. I don't anymore. He's made his bed. And I said it earlier to Matt Wilkinson, the King might, we talked about this last week, the King might just, because he's a father, he's not well, he might want to make peace. I think Harry's in a hurry, right? Because he knows damn well his brother will not give him the time of day when William becomes king. That's what I think.
Right, and honestly, the only thing that Harry and Meghan are using to monetize their existence is their proximity to the British royal family. And William will cut that off because it's not like they're elevating the brand. Meghan's releasing videos where she's twerking on the internet.
Is it her, though? Did she have the baby? Is she actually called Meghan? Does she exist? Is he ginger? What is the world all about?
That is the problem ultimately when it comes to this content that they've developed for Netflix, the lack of authenticity. Also, Meghan is chasing the fame game and Harry loathes it. So that's why I always wonder what's going on behind the scenes, or when stories start to circulate of frustration behind the scenes because she's releasing pictures of their children and he doesn't like that. I believe them to be true because they are just pursuing completely different opposite paths. He wants to be remembered in the same lane as Princess Diana, his mother. That's why we see him tediously recreate some of her ventures. And Meghan just wants to make sure she's on the cover of People magazine and she's invited to red carpets. And, we're seeing Hollywood turn their back on Meghan. I don't even think she's successful in that arena.
I think it's brilliant. Sorry. One thing really sad, just as we come off air, and listen, Sharon's a good friend of all of us, bless her heart. Ozzie Osbourne, hard rock pioneer by anybody's standards, tragically dying yesterday, 76. A long history of illness. The great thing, everybody saying today quite rightly, that he could go ahead with that farewell concert at Villa Park in front of 40,000 fans a matter of weeks ago. Sad, though. One of just, you don't have to agree with his music, but just one of the greats, right?
I mean, a pop culture icon here in the States. As a younger person, I was introduced to him by his reality television show, and I just thought they were the quirkiest, silliest, most entertaining family.
Well before the Kardashians, for anybody. At Home with the Osbournes was absolutely... Do you remember the bit with the dogs? He's going, Sharon, the dogs everywhere. Brilliant show for years. And, music-wise, yes. And it wasn't expected, was it, or was it expected? I know his family were around. What do we know about it? Do we know anything?
It was unexpected. Kelly said as recently as last week that her father was not dying. So I do think he was expected to visit his sisters recently. So I am under the impression that they were surprised by this. But yeah, Sharon is one of the strongest people we've both ever encountered. My thoughts are with her. And, I just wish I could give her a hug.
I love Sharon. We worked together many times, and her heart will be breaking. She was so important to him and so in love with him and gave so much. And she needs everybody's love right now. She's had a hard time, and the family. So our thoughts with her. Listen, don't leave it so long. How were the dogs when you got home?
I had an Ozzie moment where I tripped over them and was like, yes, I'm an animal hoarder, but I was happy to see them. They're happy. They're
we
content.
want to hoard you here. We're Kinsey hoarders in the UK. Come home soon, OK? Be safe. I don't know what happened to my accent there. Thanks so much indeed. Kinsey Schofield live from LA, 12 minutes to 8. Women are calling for Sarge. John Lucas from The Sun, he's not here today. Will Barker, who's his boss, who has less hair than him. He's got no female admirers. He's next on Talk Drive.
It's going to be a very, very difficult summer. I think the Chancellor, along with her advisors, will be weighing up all those options before the autumn budget. And as what she herself said the other week, that the low-hanging fruit, those sort of easy pickings that when she came into office to try and raise some money, whether it was the national insurance hike on business, there's only so many times you can go back to the well on that, because confidence in the business community has been hit by that.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
8 minutes to 7. Kev here with the political asylum from 7. Petri Oskins from 10. We say a very good afternoon to Will Barker, Deputy Head of News at The Sun. Have you got my big Sun logo up? There's women calling for John Lucas. Sarge, I mean, that's upsetting to you professionally, isn't it?
It is. What have you done to him? I mean...
It's gone to his head.
It's completely gone to his head.
There's my Sun logo. Right, tomorrow's paper. We haven't got much time. The migrant story keeps giving and giving. We've had this story about Essex today, which is extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. I heard you just talking about that. I mean, we are racking them up every day. We're obviously covering the Essex story. It's a big show on the 4-5, but we're taking a bit of a different tack on it. We're looking at this hotel that was announced last night, or emerged last night. A hotel slap bang in the middle of Canary Wharf, one of the major business
financial centre
in London. There's a hotel in there. You could have stayed in there for 125 quid a night. You could have...
How much?
£425
Oh, right,
a night.
That's not a lot, is it?
It had a pool, it's got sauna, it's got 2 restaurants, superb views. It sold itself on the website saying that you could take there for a city break, have a lovely time out there.
Can't go now, though, can you?
No. They boarded it all up last night, and they're about to bring in a load of migrants. They've hired it out. The boss of the Britannia's done a deal with the government. about 80 quid a night per bed. He is moving in probably about 400 because they're expecting a surge in the summer. There's more coming, so they've set up this hotel.
Jesus Christ.
It's just, I mean, as I say...
So in a £425 a night hotel in the centre of London with a string of top-tier amenities, including a games room with a pool table, a gym, an indoor pool and sauna are thought to have already been closed. But bless them, that's where they're going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And people listening to this right now are sitting in a traffic jam, having really struggled to pay their gas bill, energy bill or whatever, yeah?
Yeah.
It's just absolute rubbish, man, isn't it?
As I say, we're racking these stories up every day, and this is just another one. So we're splashing on this tomorrow.
Because the Sun know, and there's a lot of people going, oh, you know, you're all anti-migrants. No, we're not. The fact is the British people have a real concern, and that's what the Sun is doing, right?
Absolutely.
And what Talk's doing. Ozzie Osbourne, an amazing guy and such an outpouring of grief. Sharon worked, of course, on Talk for a long time, and our thoughts are with her.
Yeah, well, I'm a Brummie, I'm a Villa fan, so losing Ozzie is a big one for me. He's royalty for us down in the second city, and sure enough, all the fans have come out in Birmingham. We're doing a spread on this tomorrow, and we're trying to look at the funeral plans. They're starting to sort of come together. I'm hoping that they're going to be in Birmingham. It should be. That's where he's...
I would think it will be Birmingham. I think Sharon will take him home. I think that's why she brought him back to Buckingham.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time talking about when we were doing the Talk. But, you know, look, just... a one-off, mate, really, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, Kinsey just said most people only knew him from the Osbournes, that documentary series.
Well, I mean, these stories, I mean, if you get a chance, read Simon Cousins' piece in our paper today that's it's on the website, incredible biog on him, the things he got up to.
Oh,
I mean,
mate.
Rock and roll. It's just
unbelievable. Prince William, where there's a will, what's that all about?
There's a way. Basically, he's going over to Switzerland to go and watch the ladies play on Sunday night. Now, he's a bit of a lucky charm for them. He hasn't been great for the men's team. He's been to both of our finals in the Euros previously. We didn't do so well. But he's now going to go and follow the women on Sunday.
I was saying that they've been so poor and yet they're in the final that you just think there's got to be a game in them.
Yeah.
But they've done it. They've done it.
I watched it last night and you gave up hope on them because they were just all over the place. But then they pulled it out. They've got incredible fight in them.
They have indeed. Good luck to them. And Artichoker, listen to this, Joe. This is the best story of the week.
So, there's a guy, he planted an artichoke. I don't know if you grow artichokes. But
no, I don't grow anything.
I discovered today they're related to the thistle. He planted them. He decided to move them to his house 5 years ago, put them in front of his house. Then suddenly, I guess it's to do with the freak weather we've had at the moment, it's rocketed up, so much so he can't see out of his bedroom window.
It's like Jack and the Bleeding Beanstalk. When we were kids, we used to go away on holiday for 3 weeks to the south coast, and the old man told us this story for months about a marrow, and I remember being 5 or 6 coming home and imagining this marrow was going to be the size of the house. It was about the size of my little finger.
Right.
You know, about 6 inches. Yeah, never mind that way. But no, this is a brilliant story.
So
you imagine like waking up and going, Christ, what's that? It's an artichoke. What's this? It's huge.
Yep. 10 foot tall. He reckons he's going to put it in for the Guinness Book of World Records, and he's called it Audrey, after Little Shop of
He's
Horrors.
called his artichoke Audrey. That's brilliant. Do people like that? Do they come to you, or do you find that
No, I think he must have cropped up in a local paper, and we were sent it.
So for you at The Sun, tomorrow's paper Thursday, it's writing the stories, again, that people want to talk about. That is still about migrant hotels to refresh. And this is online from 10 o'clock, by the way. The Britannia Hotel, which is quite flash in East London, with an indoor pool and a sauna, a pool table and a gym, is being closed down because it's going to open up tomorrow. It's going to have migrants. So if you're owning a hotel that you could charge $4.25 a night a room, you can't sell all of them, but the government are going to give you 160 a night because there's 2 beds in each, and you know you're going to get that guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, they're
and how do you feel when you get on your train home tonight knowing that you're paying for that?
Well, I live in Birmingham. I'd move. I'd love to stay in.
Do you come up and down from Birmingham?
Yeah.
Where do you live in Birmingham?
I stay at my sister's in Beacon. I'd love to stay in that hotel.
Where do you live in Birmingham?
In Sutton Coldfield.
That's the east. Listen, don't listen to him. Sutton Coldfield's the posh end where people get out the bath to have a wee. You play golf at Little Aston. You're right up it, aren't you? Sutton Coldfield. Oh my God! It's hardly Nechel's or Aston where I was doing the BR&B. I did it from the HP factory.
I know.
That's where I started. Yeah. Oh great! Is Kevin right? Kevin's come in to do a show and gone again because he's forgotten his paperwork. Will, we say thank you very much indeed, mate. Will Barker, Deputy Head of News at The Sun. Tomorrow, the newspaper on sale, of course, and tonight all of that online, yeah?
Yep.
Brilliant. So listen, thank you for listening to Drive. Can I say a massive thank you to my all-girl group this week? Don't worry, I can talk for a minute and a half. The amazing Jodie has been in charge. She's been producing because Ryan, old lanky Ryan's been away saving his marriage. That's a joke. It's been a long day. Thank you to Faith. Our faith in you is unremitting. Who's on the buttons? She's not. No, Mosie's not on holiday. Amy has smiled her way through 3 days with me. Some thinks it's because she's happy. I think it's because she's got wind. We are back Monday. Tomorrow, of course, Peter Cardwell is on Drive. But I am back in the morning at 6 o'clock with Mike Graham on Breakfast. We will be talking more about this horrendous story in Epping. And I don't mean to be rude, but Ben Julian Harrington, the Chief Constable of Essex Police, affectionately now known as BJ Harrington by me, I do not know how that man can survive. Sorry. Yes, everybody has a right to protest. Yes, whatever your views, if it's done peacefully. But for a police force to lie about and then it's proven